Already know this, but these children are just like Americans. We have them really. Yeah. Great deal.
I would like to call this meeting of the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board to order. We're going to be, the first reminder is anybody that would like to speak, if you'd fill out a speaker's card in there, in person back there, there's also a QR code where you can do it online if you'd like. And those comments will be for items that are the public forum will be for items that are not on the agenda. The other ones will be taken at the time of the agenda item. Let's see, today we're going to change the order a little bit. We're going to move item 4 and 4A up at the beginning. And then we'll come back to items 1, 2, 3, and 5. Kelly, do you want to provide some instructions for our online participants?
Yes, I do. Thank you. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Before we start today's public forum, I would like to share some instructions about how to participate and comment online using Zoom. Online participants that would like to comment during the public forum or during one of the board agenda items must register for and sign into the Zoom webinar via computer or phone. Information on how to register for the Zoom webinar is located on the San Diego Water Board meeting agenda webpage. Public comments will be accepted for each item after all presentations for the item are complete. If you are using Zoom on a computer or tablet, please use the raise hand button to indicate you wish to comment. If you are calling into Zoom from a phone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. There is a 3-minute time limit for each public commenter. However, that time could be extended at the chair's discretion. For those participating by Zoom, you will see a timer on the screen and will hear a beeping when your time is up. Lastly, please state your name for the record before you speak, and please mute your microphone if you are not speaking. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Before we call the roll, I'd like to read the following statement. Board member Betty Olson has requested to participate remotely in this meeting in accordance with the provisions of the Bagley-Keene Open Meetings Act, specifically Government Code Section 11123.2. Remote participation requires that a quorum of the board members be physically present at a single teleconference location that is open and visible and audible to the public. Dr. Olson may proceed remotely participating in this meeting. You are required to remain on camera for the entire open portion of this public meeting unless there's a poor internet connection or it would be technologically impracticable for you to do that. Dr. Olson needs to turn off her camera during open portions of the meeting. If she needs to turn off her camera during open portions of the meeting, she must announce the reason for doing so. All right, Chris, can you go ahead and call the roll, please?
Ms. Blair?
Present.
Ms. Cantu?
Present.
Dr. Olson?
Present.
Ms. Tu?
Here.
And Chair Strawn?
Here.
I think we may have an audio issue in the room. If somebody is maybe watching the Zoom meeting, if you could mute your sound output.
Hi, Board Member Blair. I believe that Board Member Olson has 2 devices, and I think it's hers, and that she would need to turn one of the sounds off.
On mute.
Like she needs to
Turn the sound off.
turn the sound off on the computer or the phone.
Thank you, Betty.
Are we okay? I think so. We'll now go into the public forum section. And Lori, would you like to start it off?
presentation up? Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Lori Walsh. I'm the Surface Waters Branch Chief on your staff. And today I'm excited to bring you a success story about bringing potable drinking water to a neighborhood called the Acres in Ramona. It's indicated by the star on the map. This matter came to me about 6 years ago when Michael Bailey and his wife, Janine, and their neighbor came to me with what I thought was going to be a complaint, but it actually was a request for help. They had realized that their groundwater, which was their supply water, was contaminated with nitrogen, bacteria, and uranium, making it unpotable. So after Michael brought this to us and showed us the data and sat down and explained the matter, Erica Ryan and I, at the time, when they left, we thought, okay, this situation looks like something that would be perfect for the safe and affordable drinking water funding that the state board had. So I put together a very detailed email and I sent it to Sean Sturchy, who was the district engineer at the time, and asked that his staff look into this. And they did. So flash forward 6 years, it was fast for me, but not for Michael and his residents. I get an email that starts off by saying, it's happening, with a few pictures of the construction project to get this neighborhood safe drinking water. A couple months later, I get another email and it's, we did it. And I got to tell you, I've been with the Water Board for 32 years, and it's a pretty good feeling when you get an email like that. And I've always lived in an area where I didn't have to worry about my drinking water. It's always been safe. It's always been there. And it was the first time that I ever felt like I really, really made some sort of difference in this community's life. I had a very small part of it. And as I continued through this email, Michael had a few people that he was very appreciative and wanted to thank. So I've invited them here today. So there are a couple people that weren't able to make it. And that's Erica Wolski, General Manager of the Ramona Municipal Water District, and Emma Blankenship with the State Board Division of Financial Assistance. They couldn't be here today, but I'd like to thank them for their contributions on this project. And we do have a few people online, and once Michael's done speaking, we'll take the presentation down and they can turn on their cameras and we can talk to them as well. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Mike.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Michael Bailey. I was the one that Lori was talking about. My wife and I moved into our house in Ramona 36 years ago. We happened to get a house that had municipal sewer, and well was our only drinking water source. In the beginning, having the well water was wonderful. We would literally drink the water right out of the hose. It tasted so good. We had big gardens, we had fruit trees. We really liked our well water. Over time, things changed. We started to notice more and more corrosion on our fixtures. We started to notice the water taste getting bad, and we started doing water tests. The corrosion got so bad, we started putting in an RO system. Soon we started to notice that our plants were no longer surviving. Our vegetable gardens were no longer growing. We were losing fruit trees more than we could count. And we later learned that it was saltburn from the water. One of the oddest things that my wife actually noticed was that she likes to put hummingbird feeders, and the hummingbirds would not drink the well water anymore. They actually stopped. And she actually ran experiments to see what bottled water versus well water, and they would not touch the well water anymore. We started doing more laboratory tests. We were always pretty good about testing our water, and water tests were expensive. And what we realized was when we started to do the tests on a regular basis, that the nitrate, chloride, and sulfides in our water had increased significantly, which was all pointing to wastewater contamination. Do we have some slides?
Do you want the next one?
Yeah, next slide, please. One more slide, sorry. Oh, I have the clicker, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. Yeah, one more. One more.
So this is a couple pictures from our house. That was one, it's one of our apple trees. That's what Saltburn looks like. That's a water fixture off our house. We have many like that. And that bucket of water is what I took out of our water heater after about 18 months. That's not just brown water, that's the consistency of syrup. So no matter what I tried, one more slide, please. So I'm kind of a do-it-yourself kind of guy. And I was like, I'm going to solve this problem. This is our water. So I got on a mission to try and solve it with water filters. So we had already had an RO system in there, but I realized the RO system had stopped working. I literally spent thousands of dollars buying different RO systems, different membranes, talking to manufacturers. And what I realized is the TDS levels, total dissolved solids, had reached a level that residential RO systems no longer work. It's kind of weird for a resident homeowner to start looking at data sheets for RO membranes. I knew that I was in a situation that was kind of strange. This is our actual water system toward the end. We ultimately switched to bottled water. I reluctantly gave up and we went to bottled water. Bottled water doesn't really solve your problems. When you are still showering in it, you're cooking your pasta in it, you're rinsing your vegetables, brushing your teeth. You always think back, gosh, I'm filling this pot with water, I'm about to boil water, and then the hummingbirds won't use anymore. That's kind of a really weird feeling. So at some point I started to reach out for help and I started to look, how can we solve this problem? And for I will back up, excuse me. During this time, I started hearing more and more problems from our neighbors. So I had neighbors that had high nitrate. We had some with even bacteria in their wells. I realized that this was a neighborhood-wide problem. So that's when I started reaching out for help. We actually have municipal water within hundreds of feet of some of the properties that were involved, but the cost to extend the water mains and hook people up to meters it was infeasible for most of the people in the neighborhood. So that's when I met Lori Walsh. It was purely on a whim that I happened to find a connection to Lori, and we met and I presented everything, and she was the first one that kind of started to listen. The next person I remember was Shen. Shen is here today. Shen came out to the neighborhood and I arranged and we tested water out of 10 wells. 9 of those wells came back unsafe for drinking. So 9 out of 10. And it was as much as 4 and 5 times the safe limits of drinking water. That was kind of an eye-opening thing, but at the same time, it was like, oh my gosh, somebody is finally listening. So 6 years later, I'm happy to say, one more slide I think we have. 6 years later, we have a water main. We now have city water to our house, along with the neighbors around me. It is really strange to say I am excited to pay a water bill. I'm excited when I think I said to Lori, I actually have ice in the refrigerator again. And that is something that you really start to miss. It may sound like a really strange thing, but when you try it in the refrigerator and it literally eats away the ice cube tray in there multiple times, you give up on ice in the refrigerator. So a luxury is a very important thing. One more slide, please. I think you have to advance to keep clicking. So that's my new backflow valve right there. This is my neighborhood. We have fire hydrants. That is huge for the area. We live in a fire area, and I've seen a number of houses burned down in our neighborhood. Can I say it was because the fire department couldn't get there? No, but we now have fire hydrants within houses in the neighborhood. These are just some of the neighbors. There's a lot more outside this project. So with that, there are so many people that I want to thank. I know there's a slide up here that's going to thank some people individually. I've already thanked some of them here. There were so many people that helped along the way. I just can't appreciate them enough, including my wife. You're absolutely right for putting up with me during this project. That was huge. Everybody up here on this list, I'm not going to go back over them because they're going to talk, but a community like that really needs help for that in these situations. The final 2 thoughts that I would like to leave you with is, one is it is very difficult for people with wells to get lucky on this. I think I got lucky. I found the right people. There are other people that don't have that luxury. The second thing that I would like to leave you with is Ramona still has this problem. We did not cover every house that has an issue. There are still more people out there. And what I'm afraid of and what makes me the most concerned is the number of people that don't know. When you sell a house in the country, Often they will ask for a realtor will ask for a water test. If it comes back with high nitrate, the answer is put in an RO system. No follow-up testing, nothing. Put in an RO system, house sale goes through, people never know. That goes on all the time. There's a lot of people who don't know. So thank you for everything. Thank you for everyone involved. I appreciate it. And thank you for your time. So
Mr. Bailey, I have a question.
yes, absolutely.
If you would know the average well depth of your neighbors or your own.
I do. I know everything about that neighborhood.
I'm not surprised.
So we have wells that range anywhere from some as shallow as 20 feet,
Oh.
some as deep as 500.
Oh.
So I think the one well that came back that was safe was about a 500-foot well.
Yeah.
Our well is 300 feet. The average, I would say, is probably 200 to 300 feet.
And that wasn't
Average
enough,
depth.
which is a pretty normal homeowner's well.
Yeah, that's
that
pretty
wasn't
normal in that
enough.
area. That was not enough. No,
Yeah.
300 feet for us. I think our well's 370.
And do you think the source of the nitrates was your own on-site septic system?
We do not
or-
have a septic system.
Oh,
We are on municipal sewer.
oh, that's right. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
So what do you think the source was?
Some form of wastewater. I have data that I can share with you if you would be interested in data.
So you think the pipes are leaking?
I have data that I can share with you to show.
Thank
that-
you very much. And congratulations. You're absolutely right. We have a lot of communities throughout California. They're in the exact same shape. And we've had a horrible blind spot historically. That's changed now, but historically, when it came to private wells. So I'm very happy for you.
Unfortunately, so those people with wells that have this issue that realize it, a lot of them are afraid to speak up.
It's very costly.
Yeah, it's very costly, and I think they're afraid to have their house. They don't want to be able to not sell their house.
Right.
We do have septic in the area. I will say that. And same thing with septic. When you do have a septic that's in the area, people are often don't want to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
So
I want to call out RCAC and Toby that you are doing this throughout the state of California, not just here. And we're seeing neighborhoods being whose health is being protected, neighborhood by neighborhood by neighborhood. And that is retail help that is just incredibly important. So thank you, Toby, for all of your work that you've done and RCAC.
does anybody else have any questions? Thank you. Thank you to the water board too. Thank you for the funding. It means the world to us. So thank you.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Shen Huang. I'm with MB5, formerly with Division of Drinking Water. The Acres is a great success story of investments coming to benefit the residents of San Diego County with partnerships at the local and state level. The regional board was instrumental in catalyzing this particular project. Lori Walsh created a link to action by referring this need to Division of Drinking Water. At my time there, I have fond memories of coordinating with regional board staff and also getting to know Mike and his neighbors while we were partnering with Ramona Municipal Water District, as well as California Department of Public Health Lab, in order to conduct free water testing for the residents. As Mike mentioned, 9 out of the 10 homes that we sampled for were both high in uranium and nitrate. This became elevated at the Division of Financial Assistance to find a solution for the water quality contamination in a disadvantaged community. Through an innovative approach, with technical assistance, funding, and services provided by both the State Water Board and RCAC. This is actually the first project in our region that has benefited from the Safe and Affordable Drinking Water Fund in order to assist private well owners to obtain engineering services to consolidate with a public water system. It's been really rewarding to follow the journey, to see that a lot of momentum was created to solve the problem and bring resources to ultimately achieve safe drinking water. The community is also in the process of working on a septic to sewer project at the same time. So thank you for your time. I will now turn it over to Toby Roy from RCAC.
Hi. Yeah, good morning, Chair Strong, members of the board. I'm Toby Roy. I'm with Rural Community Assistance Corporation. And we've been providing technical assistance, the community of Ramona and many communities in the state that is funded by the State Water Resources Control Board. I did want to mention this project, and the success of it is actually the first in a series that we're doing in Ramona. And because of this, we were also able to get, well, Ramona Municipal Water District was able to get funding to connect up customers on well water or septic to their water or sewer lines through the San Diego Integrated Regional Water Management Program. And then we also have, as Shen mentioned, a septic to sewer program funded by the State Water Board. There are significant issues with septic in Ramona, and this project will help those folks hook up to sewer lines. And we will probably ask for the Water Board support when they go for the state revolving fund money for that. I do want to mention kind of what it takes to do a project like this, and mention something we always said at the Integrated Regional Water Management Program. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it takes a lot of people working together to get a project like this done. And I start with community. We've had participants from the community, but none really like Mike, who has been at every single meeting that we've had, every single stakeholder planning meeting, every one of them. And then Ramona Municipal Water District staff have been active participants. They're responsible for the construction. They're an applicant for construction funding. So their staff have been essential. And as well as our design consultants, our MB5 consultants, Shen's coworkers. And so without their expertise, planning and design, it wouldn't work. And then last but not least, our funders, which is State Water Board, has funded all of the planning for all of these projects. And then the Integrated Regional Water Management Program is funding the construction. And so the staff at the Water Authority have been extremely helpful, very flexible to work with. And then, I did mention the Water Board, Emma and Omid have been really helpful to be able to work together with other funders to co-fund this project. So, and thank you for your time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, are you ready, Omid?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Omid Rabbani. I'm with the engagement unit under the Safe and Affordable Funding for Equity and Resilience, also known as SAFER program. It's a great pleasure to be here today to recognize and celebrate this success story of connecting Acres community to a public water system. Our mission is simple but powerful: to ensure that every Californian has access to safe, clean, and affordable drinking water. We work to provide both the funding and the technical assistance to the communities in need to achieve that goal, especially for those who have faced long-standing challenges with their water supply. For the Acres community, this has been a long journey. As part of the engagement unit, my role was to assist the community along the way, listening to their needs, navigating the process, and helping connect them with the resources and technical experts. But this project wouldn't have happened without the efforts of many people. I especially would like to thank Mr. Mike Bailey, a community member who championed this project within, and Shen, who guided the work from the very beginning before I took over. Their efforts were critical to getting us here today. Now the Acres community has something every community should have: a reliable source of safe drinking water. This means better health, more stability, and peace of mind for residents. On behalf of the SAFER program, I would like to thank the Ramona Municipal Water District and all of our partners for their hard work and dedication. This project shows us what can happen when a community's determination is matched with the support and mission of SAFER and other aligned state programs. Thank you all again for having me today and letting me to speak. I pass it on to Luisa.
Good morning, members of the board. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. My name is Loisa Burton. I am the grant administrator for the Integrated Regional Water Management Program, or commonly known as IRWM, and a supervising management analyst at the San Diego County Water Authority. I am here on behalf of the IRWM program jointly managed by the City of San Diego, the County of San Diego, and the San Diego County Water Authority to express our strong support for the Acres Water Consolidation Project. Phase 1, Parts 1 and 2 of the Acres project was partly funded by Proposition 1 Round 2 Implementation Grant and the Drought Relief Program for the California State Budget Act of 2021. It clearly demonstrates the IRWM program's vision in action, which is integrating water supply reliability, water quality improvement, and support for disadvantaged communities. Within our IRWM region, this project advances several core objectives: maximizing community involvement, ensuring reliable water infrastructure, and removing environmental stressors. The Acres project addresses urgent community needs while contributing to our region's long-term water resilience. It delivers safe drinking water, improves environmental health, and strengthens infrastructure, precisely the type of multi-benefit, community-focused solution the IRWM program was created to support. Finally, we extend our sincere appreciation to our local project sponsor, Ramona Municipal Water District, for submitting 2 remarkable water consolidation projects, specifically General Manager Eric Kowalski, Toby Roy, Lori Walsh, the Water Authority Grant Administration Program staff, Bill Luxett, Gail Patton, and Summer Adelberg, and other dedicated staff who contributed to the success of this project. Thank you to the board for the opportunity to speak today and for your continued commitment to projects that strengthen our region's communities and water resources. Thank you.
So thank you, board, for giving me about 15 to 20 minutes to share with you this success. It truly is what public service is all about. And when I've probably listened to more members of the public bring complaints to the board, this one was not that. It was truly an ask for help. And I am grateful for all of my fellow partners that worked on this project. And now we have one more neighborhood on safe drinking water. Thank you all very much.
I have a question. and
Sure, Gary.
We may need Michael to answer it, but obviously we got a water quality issue. Is the quantity, is the water table dropping significantly that you've noticed, or?
No,
is there a
we
relationship?
actually have I'm very familiar with our well. In fact, I do my own well work, and I've worked on multiple neighbor wells, which is probably why I'm understand it.
That's what I'm
But
asking.
the water level doesn't change a tremendous amount. In fact, it's been pretty consistent over the years. Usually it fluctuates, I would say, kind of off the top of my head, maybe 40 to 80 feet. We are in kind of the lowest part in that valley. And so everything kind of drains in there. So we've always had a pretty good high level of water. It's never been a quantity issue. It's always been a quality issue.
So it's not a Borrego Springs kind of thing.
No.
Okay.
And I have data to show how the water went down over years. Water tests are expensive. Not many people can do it, but we were able to.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Lori, and your staff. So, are there any, I don't have any cards for public speakers. Is there anybody online? Somebody back here? Is that? She's got a card. Yeah, this part of the discussion is only about items that are not on the agenda. Is that what we have there as an agenda item later?
She'll be speaking after item 4.
Okay, thank you. And no one online. So in that case, I would like to, as I said earlier, change things out of order and proceed directly to item 4.
Good morning, Chair Strawn and members of the board. My name is Melissa Corona. I'm the supervisor of the Source Control Regulation Unit. Item 4 is an update from Commissioner Chad McIntosh from the U.S. section of the International Boundary and Water Commission, known as USIBWC. Staff will not be recommending any action by the board on this item. It is for informational purposes only. Commissioner McIntosh was appointed to serve as USIBWC Commissioner last April. He has over 40 years of experience in environmental and public health protection. This includes his previous roles at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency as Assistant Administrator of the Office of International and Tribal Affairs and as EPA's Assistant Administrator. We welcome Commissioner McIntosh today, who has joined us via Zoom to provide updates on USIBWC's South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant and other infrastructure improvements to address the cross-border pollution issues in our region. Thank you for joining us, Commissioner. We're happy to have you with us and look forward to your presentation.
Excuse me, just let me interrupt here. I kind of jumped out of, do I need to make a further statement about the information item only that's printed here, or it sounds like Melissa covered it for us, so. Am I okay to proceed?
Yeah, you should say something about the CD. Are you talking about the CDO? So we're sticking with just informational items.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this legal statements here. This is an update on the status and the progress of the South Bay International Wastewater Treatment Plant, upgrades and infrastructure improvements to prevent pollution from Mexico from entering the San Diego region. This item is for informational purposes only. Water Board will take no action related to the National Pollution Discharge Elimination System, PDS, for the water treatment facility. Further, there is a pending cease and desist order, aka CDO, and no comments or questions from the public or board members or interested parties may be heard today regarding the CDO. With that, I'll turn it over to the commissioner. Please, sorry for the interruption.
No, first of all, thank you for having me. Is the sound okay? Yeah, good. So good morning to the board members and the citizens and all the neighbors there. It's I just learned last night that I'm in the Nogales International Wastewater Treatment Plant last night and this morning. And I just learned that Nogales may be on mountain time, but there's no daylight savings time. So I'm actually lucky to be here at your meeting on time. But I'm here. Thank you to David Gibson and Melissa and the whole team for working with us on this. I also want to welcome the EPA. Josh Cook, the regional administrator, is here today, and I appreciate having our partners with the EPA and such that are here. And it is a little scary to have both my state and federal regulators in the same room, but we'll proceed ahead. I'd like to just also introduce my team. And if my team would introduce themselves, I'd appreciate it.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, and public and everybody. My name is Ramon Macias III. I'm principal engineer for the engineering department.
Good morning, Isela Canava. I'm principal engineer for the operations department.
Good morning, Gilbert Anaya, chief of the environmental management division.
So thank you for that. You have the senior team from IBWC there, and I appreciate them being at the meeting with us. I want to thank the board really for joining with us in this significant effort to protect Americans, their health, welfare, and enjoyment of life. It's great to have partners with shared goals, and I thank you for joining with us in this effort. Decades of imposition of exposure to Mexican sewage is unacceptable. President Trump, Administrator Zeldin, Regional Administrator Cook are really treating this as the imminent and ongoing threat to health, welfare, and the enjoyment of life that it is. I thank the board for joining with us also on this. This has really gone on far too long. When I left the first Trump administration in January of 21, with so much money and resources that came through the USMCA to help us deal with this issue, and came back and found so few shovels in the ground. I came back with the EPA as acting deputy administrator, and I was very shocked at the lack of progress that had been made to expanding South Bay. A lot of planning had gone on, but and I volunteered at the time to the president to become the commissioner to help follow through and get this done fast. The first couple of days coming to San Diego, I got together our IBWC engineers and scientists and contractors and asked them how we could accelerate progress to protect our American colleagues and neighbors from this exposure, from this public health threat. And I'm really proud to say when I asked everybody to think outside of the box, identify all the hurdles and so on, they're the ones that came up with this 10 million gallon per day incremental expansion to be done in 100 days. It was originally planned to be done by the end of 2027, but my folks and the contractors were I think pretty excited to have an opportunity to go very fast. So I'm very proud of the crew there. You probably know we just came off a historic agreement with Mexico, a memorandum of understanding between the governments of the United States and Mexico, led by Administrator Zeldin. Us at the IBWC and the State Department have come up with an aggressive timeline to resolve the issues that we've been facing all these decades, including the money. And you'll see in that MOU the very aggressive timelines. And actually, some of the timelines there were timelines that had been agreed to beforehand. But for example, the MOU does memorialize that we are getting this 10 million gallon per day incremental expansion done by the end of August, and that the larger expansion of the plant we're targeting the end of 2027. Again, when I came on board, the schedules were to have all those done by 2031, which was acceptable for all of you that have been impacted by the Mexican sewage. Among other things, the Mexicans are being held accountable to the Minute 328 projects and the schedules and the funding commitments. And then there's additional MOU actions that we'll be following through also. The really good news for all of us now is that both President Trump and President Sheinbaum have an excellent working relationship. They're both on the same page for getting this issue resolved quickly, and we're kind of in a rather different era than when I left in 2021. So we've got a real nice window opportunity to resolve all those issues with a cooperative Mexican government. In fact, on Friday, a number of us will be in Mexico City negotiating on another issue, but we'll have a chance to talk to some of the Mexican leadership about how the progress is going in these issues. The amount of attention that we've been getting from President Trump is really unprecedented. Lee Zeldin went to so many unrelated meetings at the White House in recent months where the president brought up how can we fix this Tijuana San Diego issue, and how can we go faster, and again that's one of the hallmarks is we're still getting inquiries from the White House about how we can go faster on all this. It's really way past time for this should have been treating more as a real and imminent imposition on the Americans and our neighbors in the area. And I'm proud to say we're working just as fast as we can. I generally I'd rather give this talk to you after we've actually accomplished something. We're in the process of doing quite a bit, but hopefully maybe after the end of August we can have a little chat about what we actually got done and whether or not it's working. So we'll continue to work together to provide relief to Americans and hold our Mexican colleagues accountable. We have the whole federal government and our state of California partners involved in going as fast as we can to provide as much relief as we can. So I thank you for this opportunity, and I would like to ask Raymond to talk about the actual work we're doing on the expansion.
Okay, thank you, sir. And again, Chairman and board members, thank you for the opportunity to provide the update of the status of where we're at. And as Commissioner mentioned, as he came in and we got together, he not only asked us how we can do things faster, basically indicating that we're on a train and we're not here to sightsee, so we're on an action train to try to get things moving. And so one of the commitments that we've had, and we'll get through theirs, is getting this 10 MGD in 100 days. But with that, we'll talk about here, starting off kind of the overview, and I think pretty much everyone is familiar with, obviously, the Tijuana River Valley, water in the river, the systems as they operate from Mexico coming to our side. And this is just information of the flows that are known, of how we, what our infrastructure capacity is, what our flows is. One of the things that we are seeing is, at this point, the flows in the river have reduced some with some of the work that's going on there, which is, in and of itself is a success as we're moving forward, because it's going to require teamwork, not only on our side collectively on the US, but definitely on the Mexican side for them to be able to do their projects. And we'll talk about that as we get to the Minute 328 projects as well. Next slide. So what we like to let everybody know is kind of see, it gives a visual representation of our full expansion, of our 50 MGD, 75 MGD peaking factor expansion. And the orange are the areas in the process of what we're going to be rehabilitating and expanding in order to get to that capacity, to doubling our capacity. You'll see where we're providing the new integrated headworks, and the arrows kind of flow the process or follow the flow process of the sewage as it comes into the plant from Mexico, comes into a new integrated headworks facility that we're going to completely build brand new, that we're going to be providing new chemical enhancement primary treatment. We're rehabbing our GREET facility. We're adding 2 additional primary sedimentation tanks. And then as we go through and get into our secondary process, we're adding 7 new activated sludge tanks. We're adding 10 secondary sedimentation tanks, new sludge thickening storage, and operations building, as well as being able to handle the dewatering and the odor. This is where we were at. This is what the commission was talking about, that we were going to kind of schedule to 2031. We're working to move it forward. Next slide, please. And as the process of our MOU and the agreement between the 2 countries, and it's critical to mention, it's the commitment from the 2 companies to be able to get to the point and try to move faster, get on that action train to move faster. And what we're looking at with those commitments is, how do we accelerate the current project, the 5075 MGD project, accelerate that completion? What are the impacts? How are we going to be able to do that? The commitment to make it go faster. We're also looking at, what about the future? Is 5075 the right one? So we got to think about, do we just continue moving forward, or do we think about now is the time to look at increased capacity. That's just kind of, so we're not just thinking today. We're thinking about the future as well as we're moving through this process of what we can do. We're reviewing these scenarios for cost, time impacts. And at this point, we've got the MOU that was agreed and signed. So we're preparing ourselves and working with a contractor so that we can give them the direction to proceed to actually get that on a contract and moving forward. Now, one of the things that we're talking about with the commitment of how do we get things faster, as Commissioner mentioned, what can we do to get this moving? We had, and we were starting to talk about an incremental increase of 10 MGD. So going from 25 to 35 MGD. And how do we get that? We were kind of constrained on trying to complete this in 2 years. So he brought us together. We brought our PDT, our Progressive Design Build team together, our IBWC team together. How do we move this? How do we get this? So we came up with ideas of what we're doing. So as what the slide is showing here is the same representation of the flow process and what we're doing on the primary side. So we're going to treat to advanced primary treatment 10 MGD, and then we're going to blend to the secondary at the end. So you'll have 25 going through the secondary treatment complete, 10 primary, and then we blend it and goes to the alpha. And it's important to note, I go back one, please. And it's important to note the commitment and the teamwork that we're having between the board, Mr. Gibson and his team, Melissa Corona and her team. That is important for us to be able to move forward. Because without that teamwork associated with getting to that point of being able to get the incremental increase, we really can't move forward until we have that in place. So that teamwork is critical. We're continuing with the dialogue with everybody to continue to move this forward. So as we're going through the process, we're providing upgrades to the influent primary sedimentation tanks, the grid equipment. We're improving and rehabbing our chemically enhanced primary treatment process for the 10 MGD. And then it goes through the secondary process and the blending. Then we're picking up the flows as they're coming back. And we're having a mobile sludge unit that will be able to handle that additional 10 MGD. And then we're also adding a mobile dewatering unit. So the expectation is obviously we're going to have and be able to address 10 MGD more of sewage that we're able to treat. And Mexico could handle the flows and get those and send them on the Mexican side. But we're also working with Mexico on how they handle the sludge because they have to be ready to handle that and take that same material out or more material out with this increase. Next slide. So where are we at on this incremental 10 MGD? We're on day 85. Our commitment is to be done by August 28th. That's our target. We have 15 days remaining. What you're seeing here is pictures of the process of the work that's going on. We've completed and demolished areas, and we're starting our piping of work to make our connections of our temporary units. We're installing the electrical upgrades that are needed for these units. We have already have equipment that's already starting to arrive. On the next slide, I'll show a picture in a little bit of the dewatering unit that's actually in place and we're testing today that will be handling the additional 10 MGD. So we're expecting more equipment to get in here by the 18th. We're going to be testing this information. And on a parallel track, as I mentioned before, is that teamwork. We're working with the board and permit compliance and the increase in the capacity. And also working with our O&M contractor, make sure they can handle the work. Working with our side on the funding to be able to handle the additional cost for handling additional 10 MGD. So there's a lot of parallel tracks working to try to meet this 10 MGD incremental increase. Next slide. What are the advantages that we're looking at? The intent is, and obviously because of the crisis, is trying to get solutions as soon as possible. So we're looking at the ability of the incremental increase to decrease dry weather sewage flows in the Tijuana River. One, improvement of H2S levels in the community, fewer beach closures, overall environmental improvement. And as I mentioned, we're able to handle 10 MGD more that we can treat that doesn't go to the river or to the ocean. all benefits of what we're trying to do to make solutions beneficial to the whole community because of this crisis. Next slide. And with that is the cooperation that's needed that Commissioner mentioned. Here with the improvement on the Mexico side, the international collector, 2 phases of work that we really had to work hard with them because typical actions were let it flow into the river. And because of the mandates and the agreements and making sure that Mexico works with us to not just dumping it, but how do they handle it? We were able to prevent 1.2 million gallons of raw sewage from flowing into the river as part of this work. Next slide. Part of that cooperation and part of the MOU will continue to show what we've done. So on May 29th, we had a binational meeting. We went to go visit the plant. And basically to say with our own eyes that we're seeing that the plant is actually upgraded, is working, and it is. We saw the actual effects of the new construction, the new infrastructure they put in place, that they're able to treat the flows that they're treating now. The plant is back in operation. We verified its construction, its completion, the completion of the national collector. We had our regional meetings, and as we continue, we're not just on a regular basis, but Commissioners McIntosh, Commissioner Ascendis, the communication continues there, not only on a regular recurrent frequency, but as needed. As we're seeing, as they're seeing issues that come up, as we present issues, they meet so that we can try to figure out how do we handle those and keep everything moving forward. Next slide. Part of where we're at on the repairs and compliance to show that we're moving forward here, the graph there on the lower left will show what our monthly averages were from 22, 23, 24, and 25. And what you're seeing on the left columns, monthly flow, is exceedances on the flows that were coming in. Green, we're within permit compliance. Red, we're outside of compliance on flow. On the right of the columns, you'll see total exceedances. Well, those are the total exceedances that we're seeing, that we're notified by the board of not meeting our water quality effluent. So in 22, we're looking at 176 exceedances that were reported. In 23, 285. In 24, 214. But with the work that we've been doing collectively through June, we don't have the July numbers in yet, but through June, we only have 2. One was an instantaneous exceedance due to high flow because of the heavy rain, and one was exceedance because of the rag blocking the sensor read. So, what are we doing? We had the, actions to maintain our compliance are adjusting the number of the PSTs to balance the sediment grit impacts in a primary treatment that then help us with our secondary treatment and continuing with our proactive maintenance along those lines. Next slide. Other challenges that kind of relate to what I just spoke about. We've had the excess flows, the pipe rupture in Mexico in July 2022. We were out of compliance from 22 to 24. Tropical storm Hillary in 23 put 5 of our 5 primary tanks out of business, if you will. We had to go back and repair the impacts because of the excess flows and sediment that were coming in. Conditions of the plant because of the storm were just exacerbated across the board. So we're taking those steps and the challenges and overcoming those challenges to where we were seeing the improvements in 25 through June. We're seeing the increased sediment in 22 because of the construction on the Mexico side of the highway. We're working with them to try to make sure that they try to control their erosion before it comes to our side. And they've committed, and part of some of the projects on the Mexican side of the Minute 328 is they're preparing to make sure they reestablish the work in those zones so that they protect that erosion, and they'll have a sedimentation tank that they're part of their process and planning that's coming online. In the meantime, we're working with them and we're taking steps to try to make sure we're able to handle that where that comes across. One of the things that happened and the challenges we had is our aging infrastructure and our funding prior to recent times where we're getting better funding streams to be able to handle the work that we need to, has made a lot of our infrastructure to the point of extreme deferred maintenance that we're having to catch up, that we're exasperated because of the challenges that we had with the excess flows, with the rupture, with the storm, and so forth. Next slide. What have we done since then? Well, since FY20 or fiscal year 2021 to fiscal year 2024, we've we directed $31 million of our funding toward the plant to be able to handle the solutions that we need. We rehabilitated and cleaned our primary sedimentation tanks. Remember, I mentioned 5 were down. They're all up. They're all operating. Pumps, motors, valves, replacement, refurbishment. We made the commitment to make sure that we have the motors, the parts, the valves ordered in place, rehabbed, worked on. We did emergency repairs at Hollister Pump Station. We did emergency repairs at Silver Drain Canyon Collector. We've done repairs on our filter presses as well. We have ongoing work at our junction box number 1, JB1. It's ongoing. We've installed temporary control. That's completed so that we're just not getting inundated with whatever comes across from Mexico. Next slide, please. This year in FY 2025, we're continuing to address all the issues, O&M issues through separate contracts outside of what we're actually doing within our progressive design build plant expansion, rehab and expansion. That's critical to understand is because we're not just looking at that, we're looking at the long-term solutions of upgrading our plant, but we're continuing to work and see what our plant needs to make sure we don't get into the same situation. So we're issuing separate contracts outside of that big expansion, the outside of the 10 mg incremental increase. What needs to be done to the plant to continue to make sure it stays effectively operating and properly operating. We have the junction box, as I mentioned, we're maintaining the flow control. We have the gate, temporary gate that's there that will keep it and maintain peak flow below 60 MGD. We're improving and trying to increase our flow by making sure that we have improvements on our sludge dewatering facility equipment in there. That is our belt filter presses. We've issued notice to proceed and not to exceed contracts to get long lead items associated with that work ordered now, because if we wait till it fails or we wait any longer, that's just going to exacerbate the problem if it goes down. So we're taking those forward-looking steps to get moving on ordering this long lead equipment. Pump station replacement. This is at Goats Canyon and Hollister. And we have also issued the same thing, contracts with notice to proceed, not to exceed amounts to get that equipment ordered now. Make sure that it's in place. And this is in-kind replacement. So we already know what it is. So let's order it now. We know it's going to take a while to get them manufactured, fabricated, and then delivered to us. So we're expecting that to be completed in the year to get that stuff here already. Replacement of Del Sol Canyon and the collector. That work is ongoing to prevent transboundary flows. We had excessive sediment, trash blocked up our conveyance pipe. And so what we've done is issued preventive maintenance work and replacement and reinforcement of that preventive maintenance. We're expecting to complete that by the end of this September 2025 in that one canyon collector. Next slide. And so this cooperation, as Commissioner mentioned, is the MOU. And this is the commitment between the countries, presidents, to assure that this crisis is addressed. And it puts in writing, in formal agreement, that we will be working jointly to get our side done, the commitments we have on the timelines, Mexico to get the funding and the work that they need done. It establishes critical timelines to get projects under the Minute 328 done by December 31st, 2027. Mexico is agreeing to allocate funds for those projects sooner to slide that schedule to the left. In order to formalize not only this agreement, we're formalizing it into a minute to capture that, which is our way of having a formal agreement that's binding to the countries through the commission is under this minute. And we're going to try to get that done by the end of the year. We've already started drafting the draft minute based on the MOU. That's going under review now internally as we're getting ready to send it to Mexico. Get that conversation going back and forth so we finalize how that language is going to be, and we're able to sign that and have that a written minute in place that will refer and basically document the MOU. Next slide. On a quarterly basis. It's required to meet, the commissioners are required to meet. As I mentioned, we're doing that. Not only that, but we're doing that more often as needed, as situations come up, as we're seeing issues arise, the commissioners meet. And then it comes down to our team, our reflective team here, that helps us move forward to address whatever needs to be addressed, not only in the MOU, but whatever comes up. We are committed to complete our 25 to 35 MGD incremental increase expansion by August 28th. We're on track. So far, we're moving forward. We're working jointly with our respective teams to be able to get there. And again, I have to stress that just the commitment and the teamwork and the dialogue and communication back and forth to assure that that doesn't become an obstacle. We're doing everything that we can to work jointly to ensure that we're in a position to be able to say yes by August 25th by August 28th on or about that date. We're ready to accept that flow. We're looking at Mexico initiating construction for taking 10 MGD out of the river and putting it back into Rodriguez Dam, and also rehabilitating their parallel gravity lines in Mexico. We talked about the Minute. We talked about completing Minute 328 projects. And in 100 days, the MOU requires that we look at in the process where we're at. Well, we're doing that more frequently, just to make sure that we're staying on track. Next slide. Part of the problem, not problem, the solution is making sure funds are available for the joint work that's being done that the U.S. is funding that Mexico has to do. There's a commitment that EPA and the work is with the regional director, Mr. Cook, and obviously Commissioner Zeldin, getting those funds released so those projects can get started. That's going to be important so that they can take that additional 10 MGD out of the river. They can work on the parallel gravity lines, get those rehabbed. We're looking at, as Commissioner mentioned, accelerating our completion. How can we do that? What's the best way to do that? What's the best way to fiscally make sure we're using funds appropriately to get that acceleration in place? Working with Mexico on removing sediment, trash, in the river, and of course the associated responsibility of such. Next slide. We are looking at making sure that there's internal funding to start the constructions in 2025 on both sides. We talked about the 10 MGD, taking it out of the river and working with upgrades on the Arturo Herrera and La Morita wastewater treatment plants in Mexico. Sending that water to Rodriguez Dam, get that funding in place, rehabilitation of the gravity lines, and making sure that Mexico funds their portion of the work that's committed under Minute 328. Keep working with and keep dialogue on track with them as well. Next slide, please. Other highlights of the Minute include initiating engineering feasibility of an ocean fall at South Bay. Trying to look at how can that, and not South Bay, I'm sorry, San Antonio de los Buenos, wastewater treatment plant in Mexico. What can we do or what can they do? How can we see if that it's feasible for them to be able to do something along those lines? Also looking for technical and financial feasibility for expanding the treatment of the South Bay plant. Right now it's at 18. We need to see if they can get it up to 43. Right now they're treating up to 43. 18, but they receive 43 million gallons per day. So we're looking at how they can expand their treatment. Construct, as I mentioned, at Smuggler's Gulch, and where the work is on the Mexican side, with a lot of the sediment coming in from Matadero Canyon on the Mexican side, making sure that they provide those solutions in the sediment basin to catch that before it comes across the border and impacts our system. Expanding the Tecolote and La Gloria wastewater treatment plant to 3 MGD. Developing best management practices. As I mentioned before, we were able to keep 1.2 billion gallons of sewage flowing across because of forcing and working and the commitment that we just don't dump it. They have to handle and define best storm water management, construction water runoff, best management practice to handle the flows before it's just dumped. So it's a commitment along both sides, and we're seeing those work, and we got to continue to along that process. Next slide. This is just going to be a representation of the projects overall. You'll see the black projects that aren't funded yet, red projects that aren't funded yet, green that are done, yellow that are operation. We've completed the PBC upgrades in October 2021, or the Oriente collector was completed in July of 2023. The rehabilitation of the pumping plant at Laureles 1, Goat Canyon, was completed in January 2025. Of course, the San Antonio, the well wastewater treatment plant was completed in April of 2025. The International Bypass Collector was completed in May of 2025. And we have several projects that are still in the process, and we have the commitment that funds are going to be released so they can start the process. And we have the commitment from Mexico to start funding to get the rest of the projects in place. So a lot of that train is moving, that ball is rolling. We got to keep it so it doesn't stumble, doesn't get off tracks, and continues to work so that we can get to the solution to this crisis. And that's the process of what we're working on. And one thing here for everyone is we do have websites that will be able to track the progress. We have the page for our 10 MGD 100-day incremental increase that you can get on site and see the progress of where we're at. You can see our page for the Minute 328 projects. You can get online, see what our progress is on those projects. We have information related to the flows that we're seeing in the river, what flows we're actually getting at the plant. All that is available for us to be able for everyone to see on our web pages up there. So we welcome everybody to continue to check those sites out. As we're moving forward, as Commissioner mentioned, hopefully we'll be able to meet again and tell you what we've actually, not only what we mentioned before, but what we're committing to complete. We can meet and show you the progress that's being done. Thank you very much. I appreciate.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ray. Just a couple of things to close things up. Much of what we just talked to you about, you can find on our website. If you go to those cool-looking dooflickies, you can find the MOU details. You can find the expansion details. You can find the Minute 328 details. We're working really hard to be very clear and transparent so that none of you are surprised by what we're doing or what our schedule is. Somewhat to digest some of what Ray said, a lot of our goal is to make sure that we're not only fixing things now, but we're fixing things for the long run. For example, I'm not sure we have adequately projected the Tijuana population growth. So the engineering teams are looking at a further expansion to 75 million gallons per day at South Bay. And I should say too, our goals are going fast, but our goals at the very end is to have a fully compliant system in place and operating. The last thing I want to leave you with, Mexico built a brand new San Antonio de los Buenos plant, but they had to build it because the old plant was the maintenance was so bad that it failed and essentially needed to be totally rebuilt. We have similar issues in the U.S. On operation and maintenance or salaries and expenses. And one of the reasons, for example, I'm here in Nogales is because we've been meeting with appropriators and anybody else who would listen to help everybody understand that you can't build these facilities and then not maintain them. If they do, we'll be back, 5-10 years from now having the same discussions with you all, and that's unacceptable. So we've been working very hard behind the scenes with appropriations. Your state congressional delegations, both the senators and the congressional folks have been just super to work with. They fully understand. We're constantly dealing with the fact that the appropriators historically have loved to cut our S&E because it's like this is how we make sure we have a streamlined government, right? It's like, well, when you're actually building and running plants, you know, I like Ray's not a bureaucrat. He's a construction engineer. Sella's our operations engineer, and I need these people, and I need the fully staffed operations and maintenance departments to make sure we're not back with you in 5 to 10 years saying we gotta do a lot more projects because everything fell apart. So I'm every opportunity I have, I'm talking to our folks about that, and it's been received very positively. In fact, last night the Senate Appropriations staff that I was talking with said, well, how much, you know, if you need to move stuff around between construction, you know, and and S&E, it's like how much do you need? And I said, what we really need is our projects to have a project cost center, and then our site operators and engineers they'll know what construction projects they'll need to do. They'll know what maintenance projects they need to do. And the folks I talked to last night, they understood that. So we're working hard to make progress on that. But anybody that wants to echo that, I mean, a lot of our historic problems, not all of them, but a lot of them was lousy operations and maintenance. And I think with that, I'll end my remarks. And again, thank you for the opportunity to provide you with updates. And we look forward to working very closely with you all and EPA as we go down this path. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McIntosh. I'd first like to take Dr. Olson. Betty, you want to make a comment? You're not unmuted. There you go.
Okay, I guess there are two mutes. Anyway, so I'd like to, first of all, thank the commissioner for looking forward at the growth of Tijuana, which has been growing at an extraordinarily rapid pace. And also, it's great to hear you talk about maintenance. You said the flows have been reduced into the Tijuana River, and I wondered what that reduction actually amounted to on a daily, if you did an MGDs per day.
Yeah, and I'd ask Ray or Acela to address that, please.
Yes, ma'am. What we're seeing is it reduced down from about 10 to 12 MGD down to about 5 MGD.
I think we thought that before it was much higher than 10 to 12, but perhaps we can discuss that offline. I also wanted to know how you
it was higher. I'm sorry, it was higher before, and
during construction, road construction.
Yeah, we're not absolutely sure this is a permanent thing, but it looks like it's trending in the right direction.
Well, I'm going to say for the people who live in that area of San Diego, it needs to trend in the right direction. It's really important for the quality of life. I also wanted to know how you're planning to reduce the H2S, because the sediments and the biological materials already gone in the river and perhaps gone other places. And so I don't see how, I mean, it's a natural process that it's going to produce H2S for a long period of time.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll give you because I don't understand it completely. However, if we're able to take out the flows from the river, you don't have the source that is feeding the sewage do there. So over time, without that source, it will.
Yeah, over time, I get it. That's true. They use up all the constituents or the products that that the organisms can make into H2S. But until that is done, H2S will be produced. And so people are still at risk when weather conditions are correct. And I think that's something you need to be mindful of. I don't know. We have monitoring stations. So if you can keep yourselves abreast of that, we'd really greatly appreciate it.
Yes,
I've noticed on projects that we're doing, there are long lead times. So you talked about a sediment tank timeline. what are the timelines that you're seeing on the equipment that you're ordering now, and will it be affected by the tariff situation?
Yes, ma'am. We're seeing upwards of years, depending on the size. Oh, not years, but at least a year, if not more. We don't know the exact impact of the tariffs yet. So we're waiting to see what that impact is going to be on top of that, as well as cost. So we are seeing that impact. And the reason why we're jumping forward with our contracts is so that we can address and try to get those started as soon as possible. If I may go back to H2S, one thing that we are looking at because of that situation is a pilot program to see how we can treat that in the process. So we're addressing that separately for that specific reason, because we know that it is overtime, and we're trying to see what solutions are out there that we can treat this in the meantime. So we are looking at that, ma'am.
Okay, that's great. And my other just statement is, we passed the Clean Water Act in 1972, which was to produce secondary treated water. And our expansion on this plan is treated, I believe, to advance primary standards, which is indeed a wonderful improvement over raw sewage. But I do hope we don't see that as the only solution to an area that is heavily, heavily relied upon for revenue and for individuals living in the area, from revenue from the tourist industry, because the beach, as you know, in Imperial Beach has been closed well over 1,000 days.
Yes, ma'am. Point taken. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and that again, just to respond, we chose to move forward because of the very significant improvement our Americans and neighbors will experience from this expansion. But ultimately, our goal is to have a fully compliant system when we have it fully expanded.
And we'll look forward to seeing that expansion done by August 28th. Is that the correct date? When I was a kid in the car, are we there yet? That was me. So you're going to find me saying, is it done yet? So
we're on track, ma'am, for our 10 MGD incremental increase. We're working on it, and we're working together as a team across the board for that. Yes, ma'am.
And when's the date that you think that will be completed?
August 28th is our date that we're targeting.
2025.
2025. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, you have all my hopes with you and for success. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Celeste, you had a question?
Thank you. Dr. Olson addressed many of my questions. Thank you, Dr. Olson. Enhanced primary treatment always reminds me of jumbo shrimp. It's just like we have a standard of secondary and tertiary in California largely, so we really need to get there. But welcome to the fast train. Some of us have been on the fast train for 25 years now, so we're really looking for progress. And I've put a real red circle around August 28th. And I really hope that we see the improvements that you are predicting, because it has been way too long and the people have suffered way too long. And we've got to solve this problem again, as we have in the past, but due to a lack of investment, the maintenance has not been maintained in our very own plant. It's easy to point the fingers south, but we need to point the fingers at ourselves where the plant has not been maintained. And so that brings me to my final question, and that is, what is your level of confidence that the money that you need to allocate for those projects that you've detailed, that we've heard before, that we're very excited about, they're absolutely critical? What is your level of confidence that that money will in fact be allocated by the U.S. Congress and the U.S. government?
Were we talking about the 328 projects?
I'm talking about all the projects that you have identified to solve this problem.
I can address that. The confidence is high, very high. Everybody we talk to is going in the same direction to provide relief to everybody down in your area from exposure to Mexican sewage, from the beach closures to the hydrogen sulfide levels. And they're all going in our direction, and they all are ready to step up if something additional needs to be done.
I really look forward to that happening. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Macias.
Okay, I have two speaker cards for this item. I think you can go ahead and have a seat, but you may
Okay,
get called
excellent.
up more. I'm not clear if you wanted to talk now or at the end of the Scripps presentation, but I have a card for Patrick from Coast Keepers. You want to talk now? Welcome, Patrick.
Is this on now? All right. I'll probably speak now and after Scripps, but just clarifying questions. Hopefully you don't get too sick of my voice. Patrick McDonough, the senior attorney for San Diego Coast Keeper. So we're very encouraged by the progress that has been made, especially from the low point that was referenced a couple of years ago when the international treatment plant was almost destroyed. So we are also supportive of the plans to quickly expand and get to this 35 million gallons per day using the primary and the blending, knowing that that isn't the ultimate goal, right? But taking 10 million gallons of raw sewage out of the Tijuana River every day would be absolutely huge for public health, for the people who live and work in and around the Tijuana River, but that expands pretty far with the air quality impacts that we're seeing, the studies that are being done by SDSU professors, UCSD, the federal government. We're seeing those air quality impacts affect a lot of folks with prevailing onshore winds going east past San Isidro to a lot of the South Bay communities who have been receiving the brunt of these environmental consequences for years. In addition to that quick comment, I have one quick ask and a couple questions. So my one quick ask to IBWC and Commissioner McIntosh is your predecessor was sending more regular email updates to the public regarding lots of these different projects, both in Mexico and the US. Whenever there was a problem or a spill or something unexpected happened, we at Coast Keeper get a lot of reports, calls, et cetera, from our members, from just people out in the public who find our phone number saying, hey, it smells worse. What's going on? I noticed that there's a spill over here or the flow looks worse. And we just don't know. We don't have the answers. And we obviously are concerned about the public health consequences. And as we've seen, there's a lot happening on both sides of the border. I'm very familiar with the website that has been set up with the various status on projects, but that doesn't necessarily tell us if there's a 2 million gallons per day extra spill from this or that might have contributed to excess river flows. And then my two quick questions with a lot of the folks that are here today. Yes, with the recent MOU, we've seen this expanded role from EPA alongside IBWC. There's a lot of meetings happening on both sides of the border. So I was just wondering if someone could clarify the roles of IBWC and EPA and who's in the room for all of these different conversations that are happening with Mexico. And then with this my other question is, with this 10 million gallon per day expansion, what would the rest of, and we heard this 10 to 12 million gallons per day in the river that's down to 5, would that be eliminated to 0 with this 10 million gallon expansion? Is that taking all of the flow out of the river during dry weather? I was just wondering how this would shake out and where the treatment would be targeting. Thank you. Sorry, I know I went a little over my time.
Sure, and just to start off, because we're in litigation, I'm not going to engage directly with Coast Keepers at this time. I would love it if you drop the litigation and then we would talk very frankly together on all these particular issues. And but I'll also invite Josh Cook, the EPA regional administrator, to address things as he would like.
So when there's a couple issues that went through my mind, and I appreciate the meetings that I've been able to have with Coast Keepers because they're not litigating with the EPA. We appreciate their work. And when it comes to as far as information that is available to the public, the IBWC has a dashboard, and that dashboard gives you real-time data. Matter of fact, we would like to get the data from Mexico and integrate it into that. We, the EPA, would like all of the agencies involved to be as transparent as possible in getting their flow data into the system so it's available to everyone. And then we want that to be available in real time to people. There are some people who miss the emails, but from our point of view, what EPA wants is every agency involved to have their data in both countries, both state, local, and the sewer districts that are involved have that information available at all times. It's very helpful. The second question I think that I've heard from some, and that's clarifying what the roles are. The roles are clear. The Environmental Protection Agency and the Regional Water Quality Board of the state of California are going to enforce the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and all of the California laws when it comes to this facility, just like we would any other. Administrator Lee Zeldin has said since his first visit here, of all the solutions you've put in front of me, I want the 100% solution. And I think I heard that from the board members in my conversations with you. Our goal is not a half fix. It's 100% compliance with the laws of the United States of America. And that is where we're headed there. Now, the question of whether or not the additional 10 million gallons a day would eliminate the 5 million gallons a day that was shown on a spreadsheet that's still there, I don't know. And I would have to defer to someone from IBWC. Do we anticipate that the 10 million gallons a day would eliminate that last 5 million gallons a day or not? The answer is yes. So the answer is yes. So if we all want to be on the same page, I appreciate the commissioner who said 2025, right? Because it's 2026. So sometimes we have to reassure ourselves we're all talking about the same number. So the roles that we play are outlined in the law. What the Regional Water Quality Board is going to do is their part. What EPA is going to do is ours under the law. What IBWC is going to do is what's in the treaty between the United States and Mexico. Nothing that we're talking about today is walking away from trying to get to complete legal compliance. Now, we're involved in some interim steps. If there will be additional state and federal enforcement to try to get to those laws, please don't mistake cooperation and collegiality and working together as trying to do anything other than get to the answer. Sometimes enforcement is our friend. Matter of fact, 100% of the time, enforcement is our friend. In this case, we find ourselves all on the same page, working toward the same solution. And I think that's something that's good and it's what's needed. And so I appreciate your time. And Chairman Strawn, is there anything else that you would have me address while I'm here in my role as EPA administrator?
I don't, but I want to make a statement right here. Okay.
You're the chairman.
And Administrator Cook, this is the first time in my knowledge that somebody from the federal EPA Region 9, the administrator of Region 9, took the time and the energy and the cost to come down and sit in our meeting and talk to people face to face. And I think everybody in the room and online should realize if there's a statement that says at this point, EPA is behind us, you standing right there is that statement. And I thank you for it.
Thank you.
Chair Strawn, if I could,
Sure, jump in.
want to make the board aware that we have Dr. Falk Feddersen only till 12. He has a hard commitment, needs to depart at that time. I would like to ask if it pleases the board and members of the public, if they could wait on additional comments until after Dr. Falk Feddersen has addressed you on item 4A.
Sure. So we have two more speaker cards, both on 4, if you don't mind, Judith, and Ramon will hold you till after this next section, and then you'll have your time to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
for the
Thank you, members
suggestion,
of the
team.
board.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, Chair Strawn and members of the board. My name is Riley Nolan. I'm a water resource control engineer in our Restoration and Protection Planning Unit. I'm up here to introduce Dr. Falk Feddersen from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography for agenda item 4A. Dr. Feddersen will be giving an informational presentation on phase 1 of the pathogen forecast model which generates a 5-day prediction of ocean sewage and swimming-related illness risk in the San Diego-Tijuana region from Coronado to Playas de Tijuana. I had the privilege of attending a webinar when this model was released in late July, and I know it will be of great interest to the board and members of the public. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Riley. All right. Hello, board, water board. Thank you for inviting me here. I was here just about a year ago, giving you guys a presentation on our plans for developing this pathogen forecast model. And I'm very happy to be here today to tell you about the phase 1 release of this pathogen forecast model. So let me. All right, there we go. So there's a number of folks. I'm from Scripps. I'm a professor at Scripps Institution of Oceanography, and the goal here is basically forecasting how polluted the coastal ocean will be. And I'm Falk Feddersen, and we have a number of collaborators here on this project. And overall, our goal was to basically allow a family to know whether they can take their kids to the beach on the weekend. And I want to basically also say thank you to the San Diego State Legislative Delegation, particularly State Senator Steve Padilla, for their support of this project. This is funded by the state of California. And I'm going to just show you a quick outline. First, I'm going to talk about background and previous work to set the terms. This is an audience that probably doesn't quite need so much of this background. We'll go through it fast. Talk about phase 1 release of the model, some questions, and then talk about the plans for phase 2, which will be next summer. Okay, so just background. We all know that there's a significant amount of sewage coming across the border or flowing into Mexico and impacting beaches on both sides of the border, entering into at the Tijuana River Estuary, TGRE, or coming from the SAB plant down to Punta Bandera. This is an older photo of what Punta Bandera, the flow at Punta Bandera looks like. It's just raw, it used to be just completely raw sewage. Here's another nice video of Punta Bandera, the flow to Punta Bandera coming under the toll road. This is from the Surfrider Foundation at Wild Coast. And this was historically neglected in considering U.S. beach impacts. And what was happening is that as we were doing work down in IB over the years, the lifeguards and surfers and folks like that would be like, hey, can the water from Punta Bandera make it up? And the Mexican authorities would be like, no, the water always goes south from there. And we were like, we think so, but we basically didn't know. And so the question was, can it make it to the north? And the answer is yes, it can. And we demonstrated that. And I'll just note that Punta Bandera is 15 kilometers from the Imperial Beach Pier. You can think of that as 9 miles. Okay, and how is it that the water from Punta Bandera or water that leaves the estuary makes it north to IB, to Silver Strand, and to Coronado? And it's basically, you get these along coast pollution plumes that basically hug the coast or hug the surf zone. And this transport along the coast depends on the wave angle. So this is an aerial photograph of a study that we did down in Imperial Beach in actually 2009. It's just a beautiful photograph. We released this pink dye at the star, and you can see the dyes made it all the way up to the pier. It's propagated about a kilometer in about an hour. And the reason it's going to the north is because the waves on this day were coming from the southwest. And waves come from the southwest, preferentially in California in the summer, because the storms in the southern hemisphere are making big waves that come to California. In the wintertime, it's preferentially the other direction, and the currents typically at the coast more often go to the south. This is sort of something that's well understood, wave forecasting models and stuff, and this littoral drift. You know, if you've heard about folks up in Oceanside losing their sand and stuff like that, it's the same sort of issues with the littoral drifts. Okay, I also want to provide some background nuances with the San Diego County beach monitoring efforts. So before the summer of 22, what they would do is they take a water sample and they culture the fecal indicator bacteria, specifically Enterococcus, in a lab. This is basically using 19th century technology that Louis Pasteur used. And what it would do is only measure bacteria that is alive, and it would take 24 hours to do this, okay? If it was positive, they would post a beach advisory, right? And this is just an example of a cell with some bacterial colonies on it. Summer 22 onward, I'm sure almost everyone here is familiar with it. They take the water sample, but now what they do is they measure the DNA concentration of Enterococcus with digital droplet PCR technology, or ddPCR. This is much more rapid to do, and it also has the benefit of measuring both alive and dead Enterococcus in there. And then if it's positive, they post an advisory. Now, the reason, so there's a number of howevers. Enterococcus is a natural gut bacteria, and all it does is it indicates the presence of sewage. It is not the thing that is making us sick, right? But it's useful, it's easy to measure, and stuff like that. Enterococcus dies rapidly in sunlight, and what this means is that the culture-based tests can only culture live bacteria, but if flow is coming from Punta Bandera up to Imperial Beach, it takes like a day and a half, 2 days. The bacteria is getting a suntan, the bacteria has no ultraviolet protection, and it basically has to die. But what the digital droplet PCR is, they still can measure that there was Enterococcus in the water, the DNA fragments, indicating that it's a sewage, indicating that it's a sewage source. Okay. Well, what makes you sick from swimming in sewage? There's many pathogens that can make you sick, but the thing that dominates the risk is norovirus. And norovirus is main symptoms are gastrointestinal distress, so vomiting and diarrhea at the same time. And the thing about norovirus is that it's very small, it's highly infectious. You don't need to ingest a lot of copies of the virus in order to get sick from it, and it lives for a long time in the ocean. In contrast to Enterococcus, which dies quickly in the sunlight, right? And so that's why the digital droplet PCR Enterococcus is better, because it indicates the presence of sewage. It's a better indicator of health risk. Okay. However, the most important thing, there's no forecast. We don't know what the weekend will look like. We know what the beach sample, so down in the county samples in Silver Strand, Avenida Lunar and Coronado, and in Imperial Beach just about every day. And so someone can look on the website and see, oh, yesterday should not go to the beach, or yesterday I should have gone to the beach, but they don't know what the weekend will look like. Okay, so now we get to in 2020, there was the USMCA trade agreement, and there was all this infrastructure, money allocated for infrastructure. This is just a screenshot from the Union Tribune. Funding was allocated to the EPA Border Water Infrastructure Program. We've heard some of this from the previous presentation. The EPA got to decide, but the question was, at that time, what infrastructure projects give the best benefit? Tijuana River, or doing something that impacts the Tijuana River, or doing something that impacts San Antonio de los Buenos and Punta Bandera? And with a number of folks, including Dave Gibson and Doug Lydon and stuff like that, we basically got funding from the EPA to try and figure this out. And that ended up in this paper here that was published in December of 21 in GeoHealth. And basically what we did is we simulated the alignment of this. Is a little weird in PowerPoint conversion, but we simulated the year 2017 sewage plumes with an ocean model. And we had inputs from both into the river, and we had inputs at Punta Bandera. And we evaluated the beach closure impacts of each source, and we evaluated different USMCA infrastructure proposals to see what gave the best reduction in human illness, reduced human illness, and beach closure days. And the thing that came out of that is that Punta Bandera was really the biggest thing that needed to be fixed. And in particular, because south swells occur in summertime and more people are on the beach in the summertime. Okay, well, we sold this as basically we were just taking the wisdom from the surfers and the lifeguards who already knew this was a problem. And so here's some screenshots from KPBS and the UT. But basically, the importance of Punta Bandera was recognized due to this work. And that's sort of one of the things very gratifying personally to me to hear that sort of like in the discussion in here about how the San Antonio de los Buenos treatment plant has been upgraded. All right. Yeah, this is just more background. I think most people probably know about this. So, and as someone else, not Gilbert, Ray mentioned, San Antonio de los Buenos has been upgraded, and the sewage flow that's coming out there has been reduced by about half. Okay, so the question then is, could we develop the hindcast model that we have into an operational forecast? Okay, and that's what I'm here to tell you about now. So now we have the pathogen forecast model. I gave this presentation on July 21 on the phase 1 release to some other stakeholders. And here's the dashboard for the pathogen forecast model. And if we could transition now to to the browser, and we'll just go straight to the browser, and I'll drive you guys through this. Okay. Yep, I took the mouse off the thing. All right, rock and roll. Okay, so I'll just, whoa. All right, so the first thing I want to do is just tell everyone it's pfmweb.ucsd.edu. Takes a little bit of time to upload, but it's there. So there's 4 boxes: this box, whoa, this box, and this box. In here, basically, it just says that what the current forecast range is. So it's usually 5 p.m. of the day before for 5 days. It usually updates around 6:30 a.m. And if you hit play, let me just zoom out here. Oh. Wow, this is really sensitive. I feel like I'm playing a video game.
We can do it on our phones.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to hit this button instead. So right now, there's a really good south swell running. The surfers are very happy, but not the ones down in the South Bay. And you hit play, and basically you see these contours of sewage going around. And the contours go from 10% sewage all the way down to 0.001% sewage. Okay. And then along this, you also see there's some colors along the shoreline that represents risk. And so the risk colors go from red to yellow to green. There's no green, no green at this time. And then if we transit, we can click on one of these locations. So this is the entrance to Silver Strand. And then if we go here and a little bit further up, so now we have Silver Strand here. And what we're seeing is the concentration of sewage forecasted at that location for the next 5 days. So you can see today, it's in the red, it's more than 0.1% sewage. And if we have it above 0.1%, it's in red, that means high risk. 0.1% means that if you take 1 milliliter of sewage and you put it in a 1 liter bottle, you fill the rest up with clean water, shake it up, and that's what you bathe in, right? So not many people say they'd like to do that, but there are some sicko surfers who are like, if the waves are really good, then they'll do it, right? But you can see, so it's probably not a good idea to come down, and then it goes into the yellow, which is sort of like moderate risk, and drops down here, doesn't drop down to the green. And we can now look at Coronado Avenida Lunar, not as bad as Silver Strand, and Playa Tijuana, which is typically the worst because this is closed down. So I think there's many more sort of things, but I think what I'll do from here is close this and get back to the talk. Okay. Oh, good. Good. Okay. Yep. There's the website, pfmweb.ucsd. It's searchable on Google and stuff. Okay. So how does this work? Well, it's very analogous to a weather forecast. So what we have to do is we have to take weather forecast info, such as the winds, which push water around in the ocean. We have to take offshore ocean and tide forecasts. We have to take wave forecasts, and we have to take river flow forecasts, put them all together. We model an outer grid. And then eventually we model down to the grid that you see over there on the right, which is like blown up. And that's what we're showing on the forecast thing. A 5-day forecast takes about 5 hours of computing time. It's the equivalent of about 400 laptops strung together, our cluster. And we first started this early December 24. There's been constant development and improvement. As of February 1, we've run 90% of days. Now we're probably running 95% of days. Sometimes it fails for various reasons. Here's this again. How do we know it works? This is now the important thing. Well, the county measures for Enterococcus throughout the South Bay, as I mentioned. And so what we're doing is we're picking 3 locations spanning a large separation: the south end of Seacoast Drive and Imperial Beach, Silver Strand, and Coronado Avenida Lunar. And basically, we have almost daily sampling of DDPCR and Enterococcus from there. And we can also then say our model is forecasting for 5 days. So we can take the 5th day of our forecast and compare it. And what we do is we take it at the same time, or that's the closest time as to when the model was, as to when the water sample was taken. So here we have on this graph, on the x-axis, the San Diego County's DDPCR of Enterococcus in copies per liter. And that goes from a low of like a few hundred up to over 1 million, okay? And then on the y-axis, we have the model forecast, the forecast model percentage of sewage, and that goes from a high of 1% down to a lot of zeros and 1% there. But the important thing that you see here is that there's a trend to the data. You can fit a line like that if you've taken some statistics classes, these sorts of things. And the correlation here is high. It's 0.54. And remember, this is the 5th day of the forecast. So this implies a good skill in forecasting sewage plumes. And now we can go just a little bit further. So here I have the same data, and I've put this green, yellow, and red thresholds that, that we've come up with. So it's like 0.1% sewage and 0.001% sewage thresholds on here. And then if we make that dashed line be the threshold, the green to yellow threshold, there is that dashed line. The county closes the beaches if their Enterococcus reading, or it posts an advisory, I should say. They don't close the beach, they post an advisory if it's over about 1,400 copies per liter. So that's that vertical dashed line. And so the nice thing here is that our dash line for the green to yellow is relatively consistent with the county's dash line going up and down. And what do I mean by consistent? Well, there's only a handful of false negatives. This is where we would say it's safe to go in the water, or low risk to go in the water, where the county would say we should post an advisory. And there's a couple false positives where the county would say you can go in the water, and we would say you shouldn't. But most of the time we're in these other quadrants. Only 18% of the time for a 5-day forecast do we have a false negative or false positive. And that means that we can predict beach advisory with an 82% accuracy out to 5 days. However, I always have to say this, similar to weather models, our forecast model also has errors, and we are consistently diagnosing and working on reducing these errors. Much more work's to be done, phase 2. And I think at this point in time, I should take questions just because I do have a hard stop, and I can come back another time and tell you guys about phase 2.
Thank you, Professor.
You're
Appreciate
very welcome.
your update. I was intrigued when you were here the first time. I'm even more impressed this time. Do any of my fellow board members have a question? Oh, you are. Got your hands up, Betty. Go. I see you in the back, and I've got your card. You'll be next.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Or am I still muted? Because I unmuted myself. So
You're good.
okay, I'm great. Okay, wonderful. So what I want, you are measuring live and dead because you're using the droplet PCR, right?
Correct. I'm using the
All right.
county's droplet, county's measurements. We're not making those
Okay.
measurements ourselves.
All right. Now your confidence intervals are pretty interesting around these data, meaning the higher, if you look at the confidence, you have many more on the high side than on the, on your line, greater than the line as opposed to less than the line.
Yep.
So what I'm kind of wondering about is normally you do a test where you look at false positives and false negatives. Do you know what their false negative rate is?
What the county's false negative rate is?
Yes, because you need to put that into your model to have the accuracy.
So yeah, the only way that you could know that what the county's false negative rate is if they were doing a secondary test in addition to their like you can only have that when you've got two things to base each other on. The county just has the DDPCR of Enterococcus. There are confidence limits on the number of copies per 100 milliliters that they have.
Yeah, I know that.
They don't.
That I know.
They're
But I
not.
want
That's
your
not reported in their
confidence intervals. So on the model.
Oh yeah. So the model's not a statistical thing. It's a forecast. So there's error in the forecast, but we don't exactly know. I mean, we know what the sources of error are, but we haven't quantified those, so if we have error,
Is that
for
what you're
example,
going to do next year?
So that's one of the things we're doing right now. What we're going to do next year is we're actually also making, so as I mentioned, norovirus is the thing that makes us sick swimming it. We started last June, and we've done this now for about a year, is we've had a norovirus water sampling program.
Oh,
And
so you actually have the virus. Okay.
yeah,
that'll be-
so, and those, and what I can tell you is that there's a high degree of correlation between the norovirus and the county's DDPCR of Enterococcus. We've been collaborating, the county's helped us take water samples. We have
Is
to
that
figure
greater
out,
than 0.54?
oh yeah, it's like 0.7.
Okay. Okay. Now I just want to ask you, how many variables go into this model?
Oh, a lot.
Okay, so the greater the number of variables, sometimes it influences how great the error is in the model. So
are
you will be doing
correct.
that next year too, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. Great progress. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Judith, I think you're anxious to come up and talk. Do I have a card?
No, I was going to say, the second week you posted.
Can you come to the microphone, please? Oh, there we go. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I'm Judy Collins. I'm an ocean swimmer in Coronado. The EPA tests, which we can see each day on the map, the DDPCR tests, were potentially will change our lives if we stop dumping sewage in the ocean. Your forecast model is very, very helpful to a lot of us. And if you say there's about an 18% error, today there are 3 greens in Coronado, and my friend called that she wanted to swim. She hadn't looked at the forecast model, which says don't swim, right? And how would you decide to swim on a day?
Well, okay, so I would use,
Yes,
sorry,
please.
I would do it more sort of like not for swimming, but for surfing to decide. And so it's basically the quality of the surf relative to how polluted it is. I don't think I would ever go when it's in the red, but when it's in the yellow, I could be convinced.
It's green today, but on yours it's a 0.01%, and swimmers swallow a lot of water.
Yes.
As opposed to surfers. I'm saying, would you go in the water today when your model says in Coronado, it's purple? It's almost.
So I think the model right now says it's in the yellow in Coronado. It says it's in the red at Silver Strand. So maybe, the answer is maybe.
I just looked at it.
So I
That
can tell you,
yellow
so
line is
this
there,
is,
but
if you read it's listed on the page, but the reason why we chose those thresholds is because we know kind of how much norovirus is in sewage and is in the sewage. And we also, and then that decays, but with a very slow half-life. And what we can do is we can say, we can use medical health risk models. They're called QMRA models. And those models, basically, if you run those models and you say some sort of statistical thing about how much water swimmers ingest statistically, you can say on average, the green to yellow cutoff is a 1% risk of getting sick, and the yellow to red cutoff is a 10% risk of getting sick. So.
Thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate everyone's support on this project.
Can I just have one clarification? You said it's a 5 days forecast.
Forecast.
Does every day it improves? Like when
Every
you
day
look-
there's a new, every day, just like with your weather app, every day there's a new forecast. And
Okay.
so like it just starts at 5 p.m. from the day before.
Okay.
And then, so right now it says Tuesday, 5 p.m. Tomorrow it'll say Wednesday, 5 p.m. Yep.
Thank you, and thanks for being patient with us.
Yes, thank you. And sorry I have to run.
Come back.
Thank
then
you,
I
Chair
have-
Strawn. I believe we had at least 3 speakers, including Ms. Collins, if she has more to add.
Did you want to make the rest of your statement? If you want to come up?
This was just, I was happy to have a forecast. I'm happy to be doing things about it. Really.
I'm Judy Collins. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm the odd person out. I really am an ocean swimmer, and I became very interested in what several organizations are doing on July 14th, 2023. I just wasn't paying attention to sewage until then. I'm here to ask support from the Water Board to open the beaches from IB to Coronado by shutting down the South Bay Ocean Outfall, which carries sewage discharges from the South Bay treatment plant into the ocean and into a circular current that carries the sewage back to our coastal communities. As you know, the SBOO, I'm having a hard time reading my own, 11-foot diameter, miles-long pipe that carries partially treated sewage from the SBTP to be dumped into the ocean. The present 25 million gallons a day of dumped sewage will soon increase to double and triple the sewage waters that end up on our beaches. The ocean dump site of the SBOO just happens to be where a circular current that goes way out to sea carries most of the dumped sewage waters to shore north of the border at the IB Pier, then north as far as Coronado. I might add that you can't see that profile of where they land and how it zigs and zags unless you look at the numbers. It's handy to look at red, green, yellow, but sometimes the whole area is red, but it's very, very red at the IB Pier. The counterclockwise path and the area of the Coronado littoral current was described back in 1976 by Douglas Inman. And in 1944, there was court testimony by Scripps ocean scientists and San Diego engineers to oppose the South Bay ocean outfall. The prediction of the experts was that the discharged sewage products would end up on the 10.5 miles of nearby beaches. The South Bay treatment plant began to send sewage waters into the ocean through the SBOO in 1998. The kelp beds and tidal pool life near IB were gone within the year. The seaside environment of the air and water quality at IB has declined since 1998. I might add, we heard about that in Coronado, but we had no trouble with our air or water there, and we just had sympathy for IB. Yet the ocean water quality tests in use at that time and up until May 2022 always showed water safe to swim on days without rain. We knew if it wasn't raining, it was safe to swim.
Your 3 minutes are up. Can you summarize for us?
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking this board to do is to recommend the shutdown of the South Bay ocean outfall. I'm impressed with all that's happening to make the South Bay treatment plant do better. But if it does better, puts more sewage in the ocean, puts even more sewage in the ocean, the profile of the DD-PCR testing that the APA brought to us will show more sewage on our beaches. And we hope that you can consider shifting the discharge from the South Bay treatment plant to the Point Loma ocean outfall, as was mentioned in the Arcadis report of 2019, which was commissioned during the first Trump administration. This would really be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Ramon, and I can't quite read your writing on your last name, so you have to tell us.
It's okay. It's a French last name, and the French pronounce it differently. My name is Ramon Chaires. I'm with an organization called Umar de Colores. We do outdoor equity programs for our most marginalized communities, and it's all free programming. And we focus on environmental literacy, ocean land stewardship, and access to the coastlines. I'm here to just mention a few things. I want to both thank the board, but also I want to thank the IBWC and Commissioner McIntosh. I had the pleasure of meeting you at the Coronado Public Forum, and I think the community appreciates this foot forward that you all have put forth to be engaged with the community and to also listen to what our concerns are. And so thank you for that report on the plant and all the repairs and rehabilitation plans moving forward. I think our concerns are very similar to what Dr. Falk is mentioning with what the SAB, the San Antonio de los Buenos plant represents. And so I'm here to ask for a little bit more pressure on Mexico because, you know, we know that that plant is treating approximately 18 million gallons per day. But we also know that there's an equal amount, if not more, being discharged into the ocean. And so as Dr. Falk mentioned, some of that is coming into our beaches, or most of that is coming into our beaches during the summer swells, which impacts us. And we serve a large amount of students and kids from the South Bay that we have to transport or ask for their parents to drive them up to North County beaches or City of San Diego beaches. And so that's been quite a challenge to work with the different cities and for permitting and whatnot. And so if you haven't heard, we're kind of talking about AB 2939, which is a law that passed at the beginning of the year that gives outdoor equity programs access to state beaches and county parks as well. And so there's a whole nother story there, but we know that even with the repairs being made with the IBWC and the flow being reduced in the Tijuana River Valley, that's not going to be enough. And so I know that I also would love to hear a report on what's happening with those culverts on Saturn Boulevard. I know that that's kind of a confluence of land managers coming together, whether it's the county, the city, the Navy. And so we know that flows right now are low, which is a good thing. But we also know that if we have any atmospheric storms in the future, maybe this winter, that a lot of the infrastructure in Tijuana is probably going to break down. Some of our infrastructure is going to be challenged as well. And those flows are going to increase again. So I think what we've learned about this issue is that we can plug one hole and then another hole will appear. And so I urge you all to do your best to put some more pressure on Mexico to treat more of that wastewater that's flowing into that plant and then going out into the ocean. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Mr. Chaires, I have a question for you. I didn't write down the name of your organization. I'd like to know it.
Un mar de colores, which is in
Mar de
Spanish
Colores.
is an ocean of colors.
Thank you. And I take to heart your suggestion that we increase pressure in Mexico. I'm sure you understand there's absolutely no way we can do that. We do not have that authority. We do not have any mechanism by which we do that. Our relationship is with IBWC,
Sure.
and that is the mechanism that we have, and we will continue the pressure on IBWC to do their job.
Sure. And I completely understand that. I think, you know, our organization is part of a large group of nonprofits, binational agencies, leaders that are doing coalition work to advocate for the river. And so we have no more power to influence Mexico as maybe anyone else, but we're doing this work. And I think a lot of our local leaders, including maybe Mayor Paloma and certainly Serge Dedina in the past, we're making those ties, making those connections so that we can influence leaders on the other side. So even though it's a challenge, I do think that you all are in a position to be able to create influence on the other side of the border. And that's all we're really asking for, because we're doing our best as local leaders to advocate and present the voice of our community. You know, we represent a community that can't really come out right now, given the current political climate, right? The people that live alongside that river valley, for the most part, are predominantly Hispanic. I don't know what percentage of them are undocumented, but I know that for them to come out to city meetings or even county meetings or spaces like this for agency public comment is more of a challenge given everything that's happening, right? And so all we're asking for is to do your best. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. And Commissioner McIntosh, I think you wanted to respond.
Well, not an in-depth, but I did, please take a look at the MOU. One of the issues we're pressuring Mexico on, and they've agreed to do, is to start studying the feasibility of expanding SAB to over 43 million gallons per day. And we'll be working hard on obtaining that to go from an actual study to a commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker card is Waylon. And again, I can't quite pick up all the last names, so you have to tell us.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Waylon Matson. I'm the Director of Four Walls International. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I'll second Ramon's comments. I would really appreciate the Commissioner and the Administrator for Region 9 being here today. But today I do want to applaud the recent MOU signed between the EPA and SEMARNAT. And I feel a lot of our regional advocacy and binational calls for action are reflected in this document. So thanks again. And I guess I would just like to turn to the board and wanted to ask or comment on, in particular, item 4 and sections E, F, G, J, and M in the MOU. And would love the board's thoughts on continuing your leadership in supporting source control upstream in Mexico and supporting California land managers' ability to mitigate sediment and solid waste in particular. The addition of another minute in December is a great opportunity, and I hope you guys have seats at the table as these discussions are carried out, but also just other collaborative and cooperative measures to connect sub-basin planning in particular and prioritize effective control measures that if we're not proactive, a lot of these investments in minute 328 will be in vain. All of the investments that are proposed in Proposition 4 as well, and the connection to the North American Development Bank, we'd love to see how that could not go to operations and maintenance for the federal side of things, but really be allocated towards local land managers and programs binationally that support source control and deferred maintenance, as well as joint monitoring and modeling, as we can see with the Scripps modeling, how we can get into more hydrological and water quality modeling in subbasins in the Tijuana River watershed could really help prioritize future infrastructure projects. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm not really prepared to answer your questions, but I can tell you that upstream discharges is an item of interest, and we're paying attention to it. It's complicated. Patrick, do you want to make another comment?
No.
Thank you. Do we have anybody online? Then we've exhausted our cards, and I want to thank everybody for the presentations this morning. They've been great. It's time for a break. I think I would like to propose that we move item 5 up in the schedule. Some of my fellow board members are among the walking wounded today, and we're trying to ease their ability and keep our quorum. So if we come back from our break, let's take 10 minutes. And we'll come back and we'll hit item 5, and then we'll go back into the regular agenda.
Chair Strawn? Chair Strawn? Guess I'm muted.
yesterday. Yes, we are on the 13th. Time is just flying, especially this summer. Those hearings will continue through this month, September and October via Zoom. Also annually, the state board does take a look at its fees. We are primarily a fee-based organization. And so annually, we do take a look at our fees. We have stakeholder meetings, usually starting, say early spring or so, and we have those meetings. And then in the fall, the state board does look at adopting new fees if necessary for programs. And so for our water quality, water rights, drinking water, and our environmental lab fees, our ELAP fees, that stakeholder process has is now final. And so the last meetings are occurring in late July and early August. So staff is scheduled to bring the proposed revisions to the drinking water, ELAP, water quality, and water right fee schedules to the state board for consideration on September 16th. So our Safe and Affordable Fund for Equity and Resilience program, the advisory group, so we have a group of 20 volunteers who advise the program. 10 positions are currently open. So the state board is accepting applications currently for 10 positions for the 26-27 term. So if you know of anyone, or if you yourself are interested to represent public water systems, technical assistance providers, local agencies, non-governmental organizations, the public or residents served by community water systems and disadvantaged communities, state small water systems, and domestic wells, the deadline to apply is August 31st. So changing subjects here, from July 31st to August 1st, the California Water Boards co-hosted the 2025 Tribal GIS Summit. The California Tribal Geographic Information Systems, GIS, aim to advancing Indigenous geospatial capacity, data sovereignty, and environmental stewardship. Key themes include Indigenous data sovereignty, environmental monitoring, climate resilience, and interagency collaboration. And so my last item for today is the Sacramento River Temperature Management Plan. On June 24th, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation submitted a Sacramento River Temperature Management Plan, also known as a TMP, to the State Water Board for approval pursuant to Board Order 90-5. The TMP describes how reclamation will operate its facilities to meet temperature requirements for the preservation of salmon that spawn and live below the Shasta Reservoir. The board's executive director issued a conditional approval on July 3rd. And so information is available on the State Water Board's website. And so as always, I am available for questions. Apologies that I did not get any notes to the board prior. I seem to be, let's just say, traveling a lot. I'm flying back to Sacramento today and then traveling the rest of this week, and it just seems to be a little bit of a busy time now. So I kind of edited my notes on my way here this morning.
Well, we appreciate you in being patient, letting us fit that other item in this morning, because we had kind of time sensitivity on that. So I appreciate you being patient with us.
Oh, that's totally fine. I really enjoy being able to listen in on the earlier items. So thank you.
Have a safe flight back to Sacramento.
Okay, thank you all.
So at this point, we're going to go into our item 5, which is a resolution endorsing the work plan from the 2024-2025 Triennial Basin Plan Review. The California Water Quality Control Board, San Diego Region, is holding a public hearing today to consider the resolution approval of the 2025 Triennial Review work plan. The priority issues for the basin planning, all persons who wish to participate have not, and who have not yet submitted a speaker card. I have 2 cards on this. If you please fill out a card if you wish to speak. If you're called on to speak, please begin by stating your name and, if applicable, whom you represent. We will begin with presentation from our staff. Jody, take it away.
Technology, they get you. So just for the record, I will begin one more time. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Jody Ebsen. I will be presenting item number 5 for the 2024-2025 Triennial Basin Plan Review. Tentative Resolution R9 2025-0086, and that is supporting document number 1 in your agenda packages to approve and complete the 2024-2025 Triennial Basin Plan Review. A staff report describing the triennial review process with descriptions of the potential basin planning projects are included as supporting document number 2 in your agenda packages. I'm here to talk to you today about one of the most essential documents to the San Diego Water Board, the Water Quality Control Plan for the San Diego Basin, also known as the Basin Plan. On my first day at work over 28 years ago, I was sat at a desk with a copy of the Basin Plan and told, start reading. And I thought, maybe they just hadn't planned out what they wanted me to do yet. But as I've come to realize and appreciate, is that I was shown and asked to learn about one of the most important documents that I have used throughout my career and to restore and protect groundwaters and surface waters on day one. The Basin Plan influences every program we do in pursuit of protecting and restoring water quality through the development of restoration plans, issuing permits, enforcement orders, shaping the work we do at the San Diego Water Board. This document has regulatory effect, and making changes to it requires a rigorous regulatory process. Therefore, identifying the most important projects for our region to apply our limited resources is a critical and necessary step to maintaining the Basin Plan. Today, the board is being asked to consider adopting tentative resolution R9 2025-0086 that contains a list of potential basin planning projects that may lead to changes in the Basin Plan. Adoption of the tentative resolution will provide guidance to the planning units on which potential basin planning projects to investigate and will conclude the 2024-2025 Triennial Basin Plan Review. In today's presentation, I will give background on what is the Triennial Review and why we do it. Next, I will talk about how we conducted the 2024-2025 review. Then I will talk about each of the potential basin planning projects, and finally confirm staff recommendation for the board to take an action. Let's begin by talking about the Basin Plan. Both the state's Port of Cologne Act, Water Quality Control Act, which is also known as the California Water Code, and the Federal Clean Water Act require that we develop a water quality control plan for our a basin plan for our region. The San Diego Basin Plan is the blueprint for water quality management and control in our region. It identifies our waters, it designates beneficial uses, establishes water quality objectives, and identifies implementation programs, plans, policies, and total maximum daily loads that are used to maintain and protect and restore the beneficial uses in our region. In this slide, some of the beneficial uses in our region include navigation, fishing, drinking water supply, contact and non-contact water recreation. So what is the triennial review? State and federal laws require periodic review of basin plans. Federal law requires that it be done every 3 years, so the review is also referred to as the triennial review. During the review, we identify areas of the basin plan that need updating, which may include updates to water quality standards or any other elements of the basin plan. To begin the review, staff prepares a preliminary list of potential basin planning projects. The preliminary list is released to the public and a comment period is opened when workshops and outreach occur. Staff consider comments received to revise the preliminary list, and a written response to comments document and a staff report are prepared. The results of the triennial review is a list of potential basin planning projects. The triennial review concludes once the regional board approves a resolution with a prioritized list of basin planning projects and approves the basin plan review. So our basin plan has 7 chapters, and the most commonly requested areas for revision include the beneficial uses, water quality objectives, implementation programs, and total maximum daily load projects. Any changes, additions, or deletions to the basin plan must be developed as a basin plan amendment. The list of prioritized projects developed for our triennial review list itself is not a basin plan amendment, and approving the list will not make any changes to the basin plan. The projects on the list are identified as our highest priority projects that we will direct our resources toward developing. In 2024, staff developed a preliminary prioritized list considering the San Diego Water Board's practical vision, the key beneficial uses and key areas concept of Resolution R9 2017-0030, and the priority projects from the last triennial review. The preliminary list was released for public review on December 2nd, 2024, opening a 75-day comment period, which closed on February 14th, 2025. The preliminary list was presented at a meeting of tribal representatives on January 17th and during a public workshop on January 29th, 2025. When the public comment period had closed, we had received a total of 10 comment letters, which were included in your agenda packages as supporting documents 3 through 12. Overall, most of the comments received were in support of the preliminary projects. Some commenters would have liked more details to have been included in the project descriptions. Some showed interest in becoming stakeholders. Some provided suggestions on how to develop the projects, and a few requested changes in the project priority or had an interest in the implementation of the project. Staff considered the comments received and prepared a staff report that is supporting document number 2 in your agenda packages and a written response to comments document that is supporting document number 13. A hearing notice was posted on the San Diego Water Board website on June 27th, 2025, and is supporting document 14. The results of the triennial review is a list of potential basin planning projects that has been prepared for the regional board to consider adopting in the tentative resolution R9 2025-0086 that is supporting document 1. An approved list will establish a work plan for our basin planning and TMDL programs for the next 3 years that can be on projects that will be further investigated and may lead to subsequent basin plan amendments. So the projects that we will talk about today is a mix of ongoing, planned, and conceptual projects. The projects on the list are identified as the highest priorities in our region and that we will direct our resources toward advancing. The opportunities for stakeholder participation and public involvement to provide input on the project's development once a project has begun. It's no surprise that the number of potential basin planning projects identified exceed expected available personnel resources. Therefore, we divided the list into two priority categories, high and medium. Now let's take a look at the potential list of projects for the 2025 Triennial Basin Plan Review. The first high priority project is for the development of the biological objectives for water bodies in the San Diego region. Biological objectives was included as a priority project in previous triennial reviews. As the project developed from concept to the adoption of the Basin Plan Amendment by the San Diego Water Board in December 2020. The Basin Plan Amendment incorporates general narrative guidance for the development of biological objectives and incorporates a numeric biological water quality objective for perennial and seasonal streams, where applicable, using benthic macroinvertebrates and the California Stream Condition Index. This project received several comments in support of being identified as a high priority project with some interest in the project implementation. The focus for the 2024-2025 Triennial Review project will be to undergo the State Water Board approval process. Since 2021, the State Water Board has held 2 public comment periods. Most recently, they held a public workshop on May 6, 2025, and the latest comment period closed on May 19, 2025. We anticipate that the State Water Board to schedule a public meeting to consider approval of biological objectives this fiscal year. Once the State Water Board has approval is received, it will then be submitted to the Office of Administrative Law and US EPA for final approvals. The next high priority project is for the designation of tribal beneficial uses to surface waters in our region. The designation of tribal beneficial uses has been identified in previous triennial reviews as a priority project, with the initial phase being to incorporate the tribal tradition and culture and tribal subsistence fishing beneficial use definitions into the San Diego Basin Plan. And while the new definitions have been incorporated into the Basin Plan, no waters have yet been designated with these uses. This project received several comments supporting it being identified as a high priority project with some interest in the project implementation. This project is in early development, and the 2024-2025 Triennial Review project will be for the San Diego Water Board to work with local tribes to designate or to identify water bodies that should be designated with the tribal beneficial uses. The third high priority project pertains to contact water recreation, or REC 1, water quality objectives, and to update existing bacteria TMDLs that were originally adopted in 2008 and 2010. This project has been included in previous triennial reviews as a priority project. This project has evolved during our investigations into potential updates as we have received new information and gained a better understanding on the links between illness rates and fecal contamination in recreational waters. In previous triennial review cycles, staff evaluated existing data to determine if it supported amending the TMDLs. Then work progressed to evaluate the implementation actions. And in the last triennial review, the focus shifted to evaluating human-specific bacteria indicators. This project received several comments supporting it being identified as a high priority project with several suggestions on project development. For the 2024-2025 Triennial Review project, the focus will be to draft appropriate updates to the TMDLs, including the implementation plan. Our next high priority project is consideration of an implementation program to protect coastal wetlands and ensure the resiliency to climate change. Coastal waters have been identified as a key area, key beneficial use in the San Diego region, whose protection is a priority. The project received several comments on it being identified as in support of it being identified as a high priority project with suggestions on project development and interest in becoming stakeholders. This is a conceptual project, and opportunities for public involvement will occur once it has begun. For the 2024-2025 Triennial Review project, it proposes to evaluate if the Basin Plan sufficiently protects our coastal areas from climate change impacts. Our next project is a medium priority. It is the development of an advanced restoration plan for the Santa Margarita River to address impairments caused by excessive nutrient loads. The Santa Margarita River is a nutrient impaired water body that requires the development of a total maximum daily load, or TMDL. The ongoing TMDL development has reached the stage where the focus is on the implementation plan and the strategies that will be used to reduce the nutrient loads. Prior to adopting the TMDL as a basin plan amendment, staff is recommending a restoration approach called an advanced restoration plan. This is a near-term implementation plan that includes a description of actions, milestones, and a schedule. It allows for quicker deployment of actions necessary to improve water quality. Once in place, the plan is periodically evaluated on its effectiveness to achieve water quality standards and allows for changes in actions as necessary. If the water quality goals are not being met, then we can pursue adopting the TMDL as a basin plan amendment. This project received several comments in support of the project and for the release of the latest updates, which are anticipated later this year. For the 2024-2025 Triennial Review Project, the San Diego Water Board, in collaboration with stakeholders, will continue the development of an advanced restoration plan to address nutrients in the Santa Margarita River. Our next project is a medium priority project, and it is to review of the Clean Water Act Section 304A water quality criteria. This requires states to consider new or revised federal water quality criteria recommendations to protect human health and aquatic resources. In California, the criteria are also known as water quality objectives. This project received comments in support of the project with requests to change to a high priority project. This project will consider the federal water quality criteria adopted since our last triennial review. Next medium priority project is the designation of commercial and sports fishing beneficial use, also known as COM. The COM beneficial use includes commercial and recreational collection of fish, shellfish, or other aquatic organisms. The COM beneficial use definition was updated in 1993 by the State Water Board to include all waters with the use, not just the ocean, bays, and estuaries that were previously designated. Since then, the San Diego Water Board has continued to protect those uses. However, the San Diego Basin Plan needs to be updated to reflect the COM beneficial uses in the inland surface waters in our region. This project received comments in support with requests to make it a high priority and interest in implementing of the COM beneficial use. Our next project is a medium priority project, highlights the Practical Visions themes of communicating and learning. It's important to keep the basin planning up to date to educate and provide guidance to staff, the public, and the regulated community. This project focuses on updates to Chapter 4 and the implementation programs. Some examples of topics that may include updates to the water quality reclamation section and possibly adding sections on vernal pools and invasive species. This project received support for developing updates, and there is interest in receiving more details on the project. It's still in a conceptual phase, and the opportunities for stakeholder and public involvement will be provided once the project has begun. Our next medium priority project is the review of the Shelter Island Yacht Basin Copper TMDL and the implementation plan. This TMDL was adopted by the San Diego Water Board in 2004 and established a final target date to achieve water quality objectives by the end of 2022. And although the Port of San Diego has implemented reduction measures, annual monitoring indicates that the water quality objectives have not yet been achieved. The project received comments in support of the project. The 2024-2025 Triennial Review Project will evaluate all available information to determine the appropriateness of amending the TMDL or its implementation plan and working with the stakeholder group, evaluate the feasibility of establishing a target based on biological integrity. Tentative Resolution R9 2025-0086 includes a list of potential basin plan projects with a mix of high and medium priority projects. The highest priority projects include biological objectives, tribal beneficial uses, the REC 1 water quality objectives, and updates to the bacteria TMDLs, and the consideration of the coastal protection of coastal wetlands. And if adopted, it will conclude the 2024-2025 triennial basin plan review. Staff recommends adoption of tentative resolution R9 2025-0086. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
So we have an age-old challenge of wanting to do and needing to do far more than we have resources to accomplish. And so historically, we've done these prioritizations. Have we ever had any luck in using the basin plan or the practical vision as a platform by which we might be able to convince our funders to give us more money?
I think that might be a question for our executive officer.
I think I know the answer. But it just seems like it's kind of a never-ending story.
Yeah, thank you, Board Member Cantu. Yes, it is an ongoing issue for the regional board. As I think you know, and members of the public, I hope know, we have 2 personnel years of staff time to dedicate to basin planning. We have additional personnel years where we use to write TMDLs, which are a basin plan amendment. And for some of our higher priority and more labor-intensive projects where the implementation side is a key component, like the REC 1 bacteria indicators TMDL, I am drawing upon staff internally from the stormwater program to help augment that team in order to make sure that when you're presented with a basin plan amendment to adopt, you will also know, and we will know exactly how it'll be implemented through one of the most important instruments, which is the stormwater permit. So the short answer to your question is no, we've not gotten additional resources. The longer answer is with our practical vision and with our general strategy, I'm drawing upon other parts of our office to augment the teams so we can get the results we want, which is a really effective update to the bacterial indicators in the basin plan and then execution through stormwater permits and so on.
So we end up robbing Peter to pay Paul internally to be able to keep the wheels on the bus.
Partly true, except that Peter and Paul both have to work together on stormwater side. It's the #1 priority for the watershed water quality improvement plans. And our goal is to do what the stormwater rules say is do real things. So we want to turn the basin plan amendment into real actions implemented on the ground among the municipalities to address dry weather flows as well as wet weather flows.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My question is kind of relating to the process more than anything else. Once we adopt this work plan, do you have the flexibility of moving the project depending on what actually is moving? Do you know what I mean? In terms of like changing some of the project from medium to high priority and so forth, and vice versa.
Yes, even within the language within the resolution does indicate that we do have that flexibility and that we, again, this is our guiding work plan. And we are trying to be transparent and communicate what our priorities are. But certainly when things come up, we can shift gears and management can direct us to address something that might have a more pressing issue to address. So, but yes, in previous trend reviews, we've been able to, like the Santa Margarita River is a medium priority project, but it's ongoing. And so we're going to continue that work, even though it's not a high priority. It is a medium priority, but we're getting there with that one. So we want to continue that.
Board Member Two, if I could also add, you have the opportunity every year in the operations plan to see what projects we're working on. So while you've not yet approved this work plan, you will see projects identified in there. And as we, pun intended, work in a fluid environment where projects sometimes move forward faster than others, we can adjust our workflow within the constraints of the resolution that you're considering today. So you'll see how we reflect that work as circumstances change in the operations plan each year. And you also receive in each executive officer's report, I think about quarterly, an update of where those key triennial review projects are. Some of them are advancing forward, some of them are a bit stalled for several issues. But you'll see how that's reflected in the operations plan each year.
I have two speaker cards here. I'll call up Grant Sharp first. Do we have any online, Chris? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Strawn. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Grant Sharp. I'm with Orange County Public Works, and my position is manager of the South Orange County Watershed Management Area. My speaker card is in support of the item before you, the resolution for the work plan for the triennial review. In particular, I would like to communicate the importance of the Rec 1 Water Quality Objectives Project. As you all are very familiar, it's been part of the triennial review process since 2014, and we are eagerly looking forward to actions happening related to that project. Beach water quality is so important in Southern California, in particular in Orange County. We take it very seriously, and I'm happy to report that efforts have been fairly successful. We've shown a lot of progress and improvement, so much so that in the latest Heal the Bay beach report card, you'll see there are 40 beaches that made the honor roll this year. 34 of those are in Orange County. I'm happy to say that beach water quality has never been safer, has never been better, at least in my time, 25 years living in South Orange County. That means a lot to us. Now you may wonder, how is this happening? Well, we're spending a lot of our resources, a lot of our efforts, source reduction, stopping pollutants at the source. That is very effective. We have a lot of non-structural strategies that we think are very effective at preventing pollutants from reaching our recreational waters, as well as improving the quality of runoff. And then the last piece of that puzzle is what are our structural controls that are helping us? And we're putting a lot in focus in that, but partnerships are so critical. We have great partnerships with our water, wastewater agencies, with stakeholders, and we cannot be successful alone as MS4 permittees. Speaking to you today on behalf of our MS4 permittees, but we are united in South Orange County with our water, wastewater agencies. Appreciate their help and support in this area. But I want to talk to you about, we have a wet weather TMDL deadline approaching quickly, less than 6 years away now in 2031. Those strategies I've told you about, the structural piece. Right now we have a list of candidate structural projects that we think might be needed to be built in order to comply with our wet weather TMDL requirements, to the tune of almost $500 million. Now, I would say to you, some of those projects are probably very worthwhile and have multiple benefits, not just water quality, but you heard earlier today a presentation about what really presents risk to swimmers and those recreating in our waters. And you heard from earlier that it's not the fecal indicator bacteria itself, but it's the viral pathogens like norovirus. I'm here to tell you that out of, I'll wrap up right now, out of that almost $500 million of structural projects, I cannot sit here today and tell you that if we built all those, they would actually reduce the health risk for swimmers, because they don't get at that source of that viral pathogen. So before we enter into the process of seeking funding and delivering on all of those projects, I just want to make sure we all are going about it the right way. Thank you.
And the second speaker card is Neil Searing.
He's a little taller than I am. Thank you, Chair Strawn and board members. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. And I'm with Neil Searing with the County of San Diego Watershed Protection Program. I'm a water resources manager. And speaking in support in general of this process and the projects here before you today, a lot of really good projects. Two in particular that the county is really interested in supportive of. And one you just heard Grant talk about. And to really echo that, you know, the timing for us is imperative, and it's really aligns perfectly with other things going on, especially updates to the MS4 permit. And it's really encouraging to hear Mr. Gibson say that staff from the stormwater unit will be coordinating with the basin planning team and making those updates. We've come a long way over the last decade since we first seen this in the triennial review. We've done the Surfer Health Study, a cost benefit analysis, and then, you know, ourselves in particular, County of San Diego just completed a 5-year San Diego River investigative order study. So all those things together show us human sources, and targeting human sources is really the way to go here. And we're really encouraged that language to this report and changes to this TMDL will provide an implementation to target those human sources, but we also really encourage a compliance pathway as well around that. We know the state of the science. We continue to push the state of the science, next generation science, investigating and looking at these sources. So that's really important to us. Other project I'm here to talk about today, County of San Diego, is the Santa Margarita River Nutrient Advanced Restoration Program or Plan. And county really supports this project and really appreciates the board taking kind of a holistic approach to solving nutrient and eutrophication issues within Santa Margarita River watershed. A couple things I noticed in response to our comments and also in the final report, we were really encouraged to see words that the board is going to assess coordination between the Rainbow Creek TMDL, which is solely on the County of San Diego and Rainbow, and also a part of Santa Margarita watershed, and to coordinate that between the Nutrient Advanced Restoration Plan and also the Estuary IO, which is now the Water Quality Restoration Plan. So this is really important, this coordination for us in a couple issues. And first and foremost, for the Advanced Restoration Plan to really achieve its intended purpose, this coordination needs to happen. And also to potentially, you know, eliminate conflicting regulatory requirements. So we understand that the Rainbow TMDL can't be rescinded per the Water Board's comments and combined into the Advanced Restoration Plan. But we really also encourage the board to look at reopening or revising the Rainbow TMDL as part of this process. And at a minimum, engaging with the Stormwater Unit 2 with the issuance of the new MS4 permit. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. We don't have anybody online. Comments from my fellow board members. And I don't see Betty on the screen. Is she still with us?
No, Chair Strawn, unfortunately, Betty Olson had to depart for an appointment.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to support the work plan.
Thank you. That will be, I'll read it for the record. That will be, let me read it. Resolution R9-2025-0086. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any comments? I'd just like to say, Jody, I've been involved with this, the workshops, and it seems to me this is the easiest one we've had. This is the one where there were a lot of comments, and I admit I kind of take a shortcut. First thing I do is look at the bottom of that big package where we have staff comments back to the public's input and the stakeholders' input. And that kind of gives me a summary. And I was going down there, and I don't think there was anything really negative. Almost everything was, gee, we really like this and we wish you could make it a higher priority, which, to Celeste's comment earlier, we wish we could make them all higher priorities too. We just don't have enough staff and funding to do that. So I appreciate all the work that you and your staff did and working with the public to get that kind of cooperation and understanding. And I'm going to vote for it. Chris, go ahead and call it.
Ms. Blair,
Aye.
Ms. Cantu,
Aye.
Ms. Chu,
Aye.
and Chair Strong.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Let's speed on through this agenda unless we have to.
No, I think, Chair Strong, we're ready to take item number 1, approval of the minutes, if the
Right.
board wants to adopt those today.
I have a reminder to do that. Thank you, Megan. So I would entertain a motion to approve the June minute.
So moved.
I will second it.
Would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Blair,
Aye.
Ms. Cantu,
Aye.
Ms. Chu,
Aye.
Chair Strong.
Aye. Okay. Next, we move into one of my favorite parts of the job. I'm happy to present the Superior Accomplishment Award to Brandon Bushnell. Brandon, would you come on up here? Let's put the spotlights on. Brandon is being awarded for his work as the San Diego Water Board's American Disabilities Act liaison, or ADA liaison. Brandon's worked at the San Diego Water Board since 2018 as a water resource control engineer with a water sustainability and protection unit. From 2021, Brandon has also served as the Water Board's ADA liaison and assisted staff in complying with the state directive to make documents on the San Diego Water Board's website ADA compliant. Making our document ADA compliant promotes inclusivity and makes review easier for individuals with visual or other disabilities. Brandon has become San Diego Water Board's ADA expert and is a resource for staff in making their documents ADA compliant. Brandon reviewed several past San Diego Water Board orders and coordinated with state board staff and consultants to address accessibility issues with the orders and to make ADA compliant. Brandon has served in this capacity while maintaining a diverse workload, which includes writing permits, conducting inspections, initiating enforcement, and reviewing salt and nutrient management plans. And I got all that in one breath. Whew. In addition to Brandon's role as the ADA liaison, he also represents San Diego Water Board on the state board and regional board's potable reuse working group. Congratulations, Brandon. David, you want to join me?
You guys should be under.
Think they're gonna do it?
In the future, I will make sure we do that.
Do any of my fellow board members want to make comments or address any of the things you may have been involved in the last couple of months?
No.
No? Then we'll move right to you, David.
Thank you. I do not have any additions to my executive officer's report. Are there any questions on the written report?
Nope.
As thorough as usual.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very, very well done. Thank you.
And that would take us, I believe, to item number 3.
Yes.
And given the lateness of the hour and that we've not had lunch, I'm going to be really brief and ask, first of all, if there are any questions on border matters that you did not hear discussed this morning?
I think we had a really good brief this morning on that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
I'll only mention that I did participate in the field visit with the City of San Diego, County of San Diego, IBWC, and Greenwater to look at the ozonation option to see if that 90-day trial will work. At this time, we're not proposing to regulate it, to hold it up. We want to see how this experiment works. In particular, besides providing perhaps some relief with the issues with hydrogen sulfide, I'd like to see how it works so we could use it perhaps in other sewer spill events in the region where it's hard to recover the sewage from drainages and depressions. If it is in fact effective at breaking down the bacteria and stopping the hydrogen sulfide, it could be useful. So we're interested in that 90-day experiment in the worst case scenario for that reason. We do have two speakers who would like to address you today on border issues. So I'd like to invite Eduardo, if you would like to address the board on your program and your project. And then we also have Hernando Duran, Tijuana Verde.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could you please to help me with the presentation? Thank you. Citizen engagement is a fundamental pillar of integrated water management. Distinguished member of the San Diego Water Board, esteemed audience, good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eduardo Sanchez. I'm a water and waste specialist with over 30 years of experience in water management and water treatment. I'm honored and thankful for this opportunity to speak to you and for your attention. I'm here not only as a proficient professional, but also as a dedicated member of the board of the Tijuana River Initiative and the vice president of the Mexican Hydraulic Association in Baja California. My presence here emphasizes a deep personal commitment to fostering intensive improvements in transboundary water management for the lasting benefit of this vital shared by national region. My ambition, together with my colleagues who have contributed to the design of this agenda, is inspired in the urgent necessity to act together, join our efforts and capacities to achieve so desired goal of the lasting solution for the transboundary water management. The next, please. The pollution flowing into the Tijuana River, El Matadero, and Los Laureles watershed, as you know, is indeed a long-standing issue. For decades, our countries, Mexico and the United States, have invested significant capital investments and human resources in seeking lasting solutions. Despite these efforts, the recurring beach closures in both sides of the border and the persistent environmental impacts caused by the organic compounds, sediment, and solid waste continue to afflict our communities. This is a shared persistent problem that directly impacts public health, economic activity, and the ecological vitality of our bi-national region. These three critical elements, as you know, the organic compounds, sediments, and solid waste, are precisely what define the focus of the Minute 320 working groups, underscoring their severe and ongoing threat. We acknowledge and appreciate the dedicated efforts of various entities involved, the IBWC, the Mexican counterpart, SILA, the federal government, the local governments from San Diego and Tijuana, the NGOs, the academic and community. All these stakeholders are diligently working on many actions, contributing to the reduction or resolution of this pressing problem. However, a critical gap persists. Public access to the information, detailed plans, and measurable results of these efforts often remains limited. This lack of accessible data often creates incomplete narratives and raises legitimate questions among citizens in both countries. Without clear, timely, and comprehensive information, it becomes challenging for the public to fully understand the scope of the problem, the progress being made, and where their continued support can be most effective. This opacity can hinder trust and broader citizen engagement, which is vital for long-term success. The next, please. Motivated by this described situation, a deep commitment to collective action, on July 10th, Tijuana Verde of Tijuana Innovadora led my friend and colleague Hernando Duran, who is accompanying me here today, took a decisive step. In powerful collaboration with the Tijuana River Initiative, we brought together a remarkable attendance of 80 people from 40 diverse organizations spanning government, academia, NGOs, and the general public. Our purpose was clear: to co-create a citizen-led binational agenda. This truly collaborative, friendly, proactive, and creative workshop culminated in the birth of the Cross-Border Citizen Agenda. The Green Agora, as we called it, was held at the emblematic Tijuana River Estuary Visitor Center, a location symbolizing the very heart of our shared natural heritage. Next, please. In this powerful session, all attendees contributed their precious insights and perspectives to the discussion. Together, through collective intelligence and shared vision, we created a common goal, which I'll take the liberty of reading to you. The goal is to enhance transparency and accountability at a local level to support the actions related to the continuity and proper management of transboundary water structures and water quality. This objective, as you can see, is not just a statement of intent. It is firmly rooted in the essential principles of governance: transparency, ensuring that information on water management is open and accessible; accountability, holding all stakeholders responsible to their commitments and actions; rule of law, operating with a clear and just legal framework; consensus, building shared understanding and agreement among diverse groups; equity, ensuring fair treatment and opportunities for all communities affected; and inclusiveness, actively involving all voices, especially those traditionally marginalized. Our focus is clear: to impact the key transboundary water installations and the overall water quality in our region. Next, please. The concrete actions to bring this cross-border citizen agenda to life are centered on the establishment of a robust binational working group. This working group will be primarily driven by civil society, yet it will also include active representatives from government, academia, and professional associations from both sides of the border. This unique structure ensures broad representation and a holistic approach to problem solving. This working group will schedule regular meetings to receive, analyze, and evaluate key indicators, operative parameters, and disruptive events, and other relevant information provided by the government representatives. Following exhaustive and informed discussions, our commitment is to transparently share this crucial information with the public on a periodic basis, ensuring that citizens are always aware of the true state of our shared water resources. Some of the most relevant topics that this group will actively follow up include implementing real-time monitoring of wastewater quality and volume, proactively identifying pollution sources and actively early warning systems, sharing verifiable data to enable transparent and evidence-based decision-making, and strengthening technical cooperation between both nations without duplicating existing efforts. Once the working group officially starts up the agenda, the specific details will be precisely defined and refined within this dedicated core group. The next, please. Our strategy is to remain focused and highly effective. The key facilities we've identified for monitoring are those critically shown on this slide. And as you can see, those are the relevant facilities whose operation directly and significantly impacts the transboundary water flow and quality. On the Mexican side, our attention will be on the pumping stations along the Tijuana River, as well as the facilities within the Matadero and Los Laureles canyons. On the US side, we will closely monitor the International Wastewater Treatment Plant and the essential emergency facilities located at Smugglers and Goat Canyons. In order to be most effective and not dilute the efforts of this dedicated working group, the collective decision was to strategically put the lights on these specific facilities only. This targeted approach ensures that our resources and attention yield the most impactful and measurable results for our shared water future. The next, please. To draft this comprehensive agenda, we created a commission. This dedicated commission is comprised of 6 highly committed individuals with 3 representatives from each country. Their balance by national perspective ensures that the agenda reflects the needs and realities of both sides of the border. Throughout this month, this commission is diligently writing the agenda, carefully incorporating all the valuable proposals and suggestions generously contributed by the attendees to the Green Agora. In the meantime, we are actively socializing the proposal with key stakeholders and communities to gather further feedback and build broader support. We are excited to announce that we will officially sign the agenda on September 25 in the Green Agora in Tijuana. Following this milestone, during October, it will be formally presented to relevant authorities and the public in both countries. The official go live of this important initiative will be held in November at the inaugural Cross-Border Agenda Citizen Meeting, the first one. This timeline reflects our commitment to swift and decisive actions. The enduring binational relationship among the US and Mexico demands the application of essential principles to ensure our common goals are achieved. Success in transboundary water management depends on not just on technical solutions, but on how we govern ourselves collectively. Transparency, open diplomacy, profound respect for each other's perspectives, and a deep comprehension of our inherent asymmetries, both as societies and as countries, are fundamental principles to truly achieve our shared goals. Ultimately, robust citizen engagement, the provision of clear and accessible information, and genuine collaboration will empower us to find lasting solutions for our shared water resources issues. Our agenda aims to achieve 3 critical outcomes: to simplify a complex binational problem, to ensure accountability across all levels, and to accelerate progress towards a healthier, more sustainable shared water solution for all. Thank you for your attention and for your commitment to this vital cross-border endeavor. I welcome any question you may send to my email if you want. And just remember that citizen engagement is a fundamental pillar of integrated water management. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Hernando Duran. I am the director of Tijuana Verde, an environmental initiative under Tijuana Innovadora. I also had the privilege of serving as general director of CESP, the water utility of Tijuana, a long time ago. But more than 12 years ago, I stood right here in this very space as CESP director, presenting major progress of the Tijuana sanitation system, including the launch of 2 key treatment plants, Arturo Herrera and La Morita, and several other projects that in the future will clean all the Tijuana River sewage problem. At the time, it became clear that despite many efforts, the system effectiveness was limited, mostly by the number of agencies involved, and especially by the fact that many decisions were made far from the border in Mexico City and Washington, D.C. This slows or prevents timely, proper operation of our shared infrastructure. We have since heard multiple government announcements promising a final solution, but the reality is that the beaches remain closed for over 3 years, highlighting the urgent need for continuous local oversight from both citizens and local leaders. That's why the cross-border citizen agenda is so important. As part of this effort, over 40 organizations from both sides of the border are now working together through a binational local working group to monitor and support the proper operation of the sanitation system beyond political terms or administrative changes. The initiative provides an organized civil society-led platform to monitor key infrastructure, demand transparency, and support the agencies in charge. It aims not to criticize, but to help by building accountability, sharing timely information, and ensuring continuity, no matter who is in office. We believe that sustained, informed local engagement is essential to achieve lasting solutions and finally stop the pollution reaching the Tijuana River estuary and the Pacific Ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Ingeniero Duran, please come back. First, I want to thank you and your
Yes.
colleague, Ingeniero Sanchez,
Yes.
for joining us and addressing us.
Yes.
You have been on the fast bus
Yeah.
for many, many decades.
Yes.
The fast train, yeah, the fast train for many
Yes.
decades. And you have seen all sides
Yes.
of our predicament.
Yes, that's
And you
correct.
have been as frustrated as we have been historically.
I hope that the problem is solved.
If you feel that this step at this point in time of increased transparency and citizen involvement, at this point in time where internationally we see democracy being stepped on, I endorse it 1000%. I don't know where to turn next in our quest to solve our small home problems, let alone the much larger international problems that are looming. But I am very grateful for people like you continue to work on these issues through so many decades and through so many administrations and so many challenges. So thank you very much for
Thank you
taking the
very
time.
much. And we hope that this agenda will, all the community can help and have eyes to have a vigilant that what they in the earlier time of this meeting were presented to us. It's a great list of projects, but that story we heard before 5, 10, 20 years ago. And we as a community, we have to be oversighting and that the government have the accountability and the continuity of what is happening in order that everybody live here in this region. We are a region. That's the main focus. We are a region, not a political. We have to keep up out the political things. We have to solve problems. And some problems can be solved the easy way between the two regions, helping each other in some projects or some things, little things, but in the bigger picture, it's a big solution for the region.
Rivers and oceans do not know borders.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments or items of interest from the board? David, did we cover everything?
We have, and I don't see that we have any additional speakers on item number 3. Thank you very much for your patience today.
With that, we don't have a closed agenda, so we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Yes,